right, guys, we are live here. We have a special show today starting at noon. We're talking Spurs, OKC last night. What a game. Knicks, Cavs tonight. We're going to talk NFL prop bets. We're talking gambling the whole show. We have a special guest on today, one of the biggest heavy hitters in the country that nobody knows about. This guy drops 100K bets like we drop $5 bets. And I know when I get a couple phone calls and missed text messages from him, those increments are going up in his head, and he's about to lay the lumber. This guy walks into the Hard Rock, and everybody knows who he is. His name is Zack. But, Zack, before you say a word, I didn't want to tell you this before the show, but I'm kind of using you as a stepping stone to get to the real person I want on this podcast, and that is your mom. The lady,
yeah, of course. She's a real star.
She's a hero of mine. I see the way she handles your dad and her two sons. This lady is a woman, a few words, but when she talks, people listen, and she's poignant and to the point. So I'm just keeping that out there, that when we get her on the show, that's when we blow up and things start getting going. But welcome on.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm glad to be here. I will say with my mom that, and I'm big into the females in sports, athletes, and the girls who work behind the scenes who don't always get the credit. But she is probably the toughest person that I know, inspirational model, etc. But when I say tough, this includes the UFC athletes I've worked with who fight with broken jaws. And I've had UFC athletes that played on my rec basketball team 2 weeks after breaking jaws. But I've just seen how tough my mom is. So when TJ says that, he is telling the truth.
Krzyzewski used to say, "Be tough like your mom." You know what I mean? That's the truth right there, man.
If I could be 10% as tough as her, I would sign the dot right now.
Amen.
She knows how to read the room. She knows how to read the room too. And I'm talking to the brothers. I'm talking to their dad. He's looking around saying, "Hey, you got 10 of the tables you got to get to." I'm like, "Thanks, Mrs. Goodman." All right, guys, let's open it up. Let's
go. Spurs.
Maybe one of the greatest shots in playoff history. Not maybe, definitely one of them, right? Wembanyama with that three-point shot, one of the best game ones we've seen. We're not just living in the moment right now. These are facts of life.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Agreed.
And it was just amazing to watch. SGA didn't start out amazing, but finished strong. Wembanyama obviously controlled the whole game, 41-24.
Spurs had no Fox.
Yeah,
crazy.
Right? Ball was in Castle's hands. Rookie Harper's out here doing his thing. Kid had 7 steals. Nobody's talking about that. Like,
yeah,
it's a big deal, man. He's a rookie.
No, and they were talking about the turnover. I think it was it Castle. Someone had double-digit turnovers. I think it was
11
Castle.
turnovers.
It was Castle.
He had a triple-double with turnovers.
Sloppy game. And I think that when you mention Wembanyama, it just goes to show how much he changes the game. You mentioned Harper and all those guys, and it creates shots on offense that they would normally get, and it also just changes the game on the defensive end because you could get beat and he's right there behind you, and you can't really put up a shot on. He doesn't even, it used to be the shot blockers like Serge Ibaka, they would alter the shots, but you have a guy like Wemby, and you're not even attempting the shot because it's getting thrown 10 feet into the stands, and it kind of affects your confidence and your range.
It's more than Mutombo and Ibaka and all those boys.
And Zack, I think you said it best last night when you said Fox got announced that he wasn't going to play, which was a little bit of a surprise.
Yeah.
And the line didn't move a half a point.
Yeah. Fox
didn't, right? It didn't move. I saw a 6.5 till tip off.
Yeah. And I always, refer to that like they do investing as the dead cat bounce. When a top guy gets ruled in and ruled out and the line doesn't really move, it's almost a kiss of death. And I think on one of the big sites it closed at 7.5, but that's just because a lot of people, usually squares, are just firing, he's out. But they don't understand with the Spurs, with their perimeter play, all those guys could play. They're all way ahead of schedule, including myself too, and I'm the biggest Spurs fan. I didn't think that they would be this good this early. And it's a perfectly built team around Wemby, but these guys are actual great players. And, two-way players, which is the only way you could win nowadays. And I think that when you factor in, Fox being out, he's not a great defender. And the fact that, you have millions of dollars being bet, when you get injury news like that, because guys who make a ton of money, within seconds, they get money down because that's the biggest edge in betting sports. And I personally, when I got the tweet, I said, man, I'm not, I wasn't really discouraged. And then I thought the line, maybe moved like half a point. But everyone, I had sent out the Spurs huge on my Chad, social media, as free play, whatever, and everyone's like, "Oh, did you know Fox is going to be out, et cetera, et cetera?" And I said to them, I think I even commented publicly. I'm like, man, I love it even more now because it's just way more volatility and people being on the OKC Thunder side. And I just knew, TJ had said this, that Wembanyama was pissed losing the MVP, which to me, when you have awards like that, and we've all been through it in school, camp, whatever you want, when you make the awards political or just, a farce, people don't take them seriously. And I think we've seen the last decade or so with the MVP really becoming who won recently, voter bias, voter fatigue. And I don't
even if Wemby would have won, it would have been another European MVP, right? Like
Right.
it still would have been another
Right.
European MVP or just non-American because I know Shai is Canadian.
Yeah, no, and to me, I thought Jokic should have won the 4 years in a row, and they just gave it to somebody else. And this year was really the first year I feel like he kind of got exposed defensively. But with Wemby, when you're comparing the two players, and my dad last night, he's as big a Wemby fan as I. He was like, "Oh, SGA." I forget what point in the game he had just a flurry of buckets. And my dad's like, "Yeah, he's the MVP." But to me, the MVP has to be a defensive player as well. And I know SGA is great on defense, but Wembanyama, like TJ said, in my mind, in his short career, he's already the best defensive player I've ever seen because he could guard.
We've never seen anything like it. And you know what's crazy? We're all basketball guys, and I'm a junkie. We were Texan guys early on, Buff and I, that have huge NBA connections. But Mitch Johnson can run zone. Dylan Harper's steals weren't one-on-one strips. They were, I don't know exactly if all seven, but most of his steals were him in a zone.
Yeah.
And you could play zone when Wemby is like this. And that shot he blocked on SGA's baseline, the shot that was on the baseline that he blocked, and then SGA short-armed a layup because he thought he was going to block by
So I got a question for you. Is it their zone that's allowing them to out-rebound OKC 61-41? Because they dominated the paint. They destroyed. It's a double overtime game, so the numbers are going to be inflated. But when you're being out-rebounded by 20, and they're supposed to have the bigger bigs, right? I mean, obviously not bigger than Wembanyama, but deeper in that category. And you saw all those deep bigs just on the bench, not knowing what to do, no answer. And every time the ball's up, because of that zone, are they out-rebounding them?
I think that's a huge aspect of it. I also think when you look at the end of the game, there was a couple possessions that OKC was able to tie it where they got all the crucial offensive rebounds. And I remember thinking, I didn't look up how many. Do either of you guys know how many minutes Wemby played for the game?
51, I think.
He played 49 minutes.
49.
Wow. So and he played both the double overtime. Wow. So he played what?
So that
39 in regulation.
Yeah.
He seemed pretty gassed. I forget which part was it. The first I think it was the first overtime, and then he got a huge dunk. And they were isoing him, the last 6 minutes of the fourth quarter and just getting the ball because he's unstoppable. And when you have someone like that who's exerting that much energy on both sides of the ball, you're going to fatigue fast. It's just how it is. And I personally, I do wonder about his usage rate going forward because they understand how, impactful.
What do you guys, Zach, what do you think about, because this is a football defensive scheme that people do a lot, where they put Caruso on Wemby so Chet can help, right?
Yeah, I love that.
And Caruso did get underneath him kind of a lot. And there were times you could see Wemby was getting frustrated. Obviously, the call that could have changed the whole playoffs. Thank God they didn't eject him for that. Wemby lowered his shoulder, and it was a foul, the right call, but don't ever call that a flagrant one or anything like that.
That was silly, yeah.
And I think Caruso played it off good, too, because I think Wemby kind of lowered his shoulder, but Wemby didn't lean in and just try to annihilate him, right? But I think we've seen that in the NFL, right? Where you get your number one defensive back on the number two receiver, because then that just locks him down. Then you shade coverage towards. What do you guys think about Caruso covering Wembanyama? Not the whole game, but in big spots, in big spurts. Caruso covered him. Chet came on the help defense. And there were times where if OKC won this game, that would have been what a coaching move.
Yeah.
A 6'5" Caruso gives
it fired up Caruso, right? He was on fire, dude.
The
kid was feeding off the defensive energy, and just the ball was the size of, or the hoop was size of a hoop.
I'll never do that
just
again.
Launch it.
Yeah, I thought Caruso played as good as possible, and
his best game in the series.
When you mentioned that adjustment that they did with him and Chet, I think that won them last year's series against the Nuggets because they showed him, it was pretty much tied the whole series, 1-1, 2-2, etc. And they put him on Joker, and they showed statistically last year, I forget with the exact stats, that he was the best defender to guard him the entire season, which to me is just crazy because a lot of these big men, they don't have the powerful, post game from 20 years ago with Shaq or Tim Duncan and low post. And they're used to just, high post, high pick and roll. And they're not used to putting the ball on the ground against someone like that because he will steal the ball away. So someone like Wemby, who's a little more athletic, it makes it a little tougher. But I love that move. I think the Spurs are going to have a better counter for it in game 2. And I think the game 2 is going to be I'm curious to see where the over-under goes because I think the whole game is going to be way different. Especially, I think the Spurs are going to have a very realistic shot to win game 2. And I think a lot of the public just expects OKC to come out and roll them in, which could happen, happens all the time, but I don't see it. I think the Spurs.
The thing is, Spurs we have to look at patterns, right? Spurs give OKC hell. This isn't
they're
like
1-5 against the Spurs, guys. There's something that they got figured out.
Yeah, and even myself, when we first started playing, I was actually up in Orlando the first couple times we played him. I forget the exact dates or the NBA tournament, and I remember one was obviously the Christmas Day game, but just how well the Spurs played from the beginning to end. And each time you're like, okay, like when's OKC going to go on that run? When are they going to go on that run? Because they're so good when they get a transition from their defense. Because their defense leads to so much offense. Yep. And I think the Spurs, another thing, that they're great at just shutting it down. Last night was a very sloppy game.
It was very sloppy. And as a Knicks fan, not to cut you off, I was talking to my dad. I go, the Knicks could beat either of these two teams the way they're playing today. They did not look good. Right?
I agree. I think if I was a Knicks fan, I'd be rooting obviously for the Spurs because I think that they each have their ceiling for both teams is equal in my mind. Yeah. And I think the Thunder, which I use a lot in my model, have a very high floor. I don't think the Thunder really for best of 7. They're never going to give the series away. You're
exactly right. Spurs could just have a bad game. They're young. They're sometimes clumsy with the ball. They could just have 2 down games, and that could be 2 easy wins. You're right.
Yeah.
It's a good way to explain it with the floor and the ceiling. Where
look at the series against the T-Wolves, which are clearly a better team. And like you said, they could have suspended him for I forget of his game 4, game 5 that he got thrown out, but that one could have gone a different direction. And I don't think the Wolves, I don't think they're really in their league, but just because of the way the Spurs play, they're just super fast and very young, which is usually a bad combination to have. And OKC just plays, they have a lot of veterans. They play very smart. Caruso, in my mind, is the co-leader on the team behind SGA, and he's been through a ton of wars with the Bulls, with the Lakers, and no one wants to give him his due because he doesn't light up the game. But the second like you saw yesterday, when he had those threes, which he must have shot like 5 in a short period, he's shooting with confidence. And I ran into Mario Chalmers a couple months ago at the Hard Rock. My friend introduced me, and we were just talking ball, and he's like, "Oh, Zach's the biggest Spurs fan." I was saying when the Heat beat us, and he hit a huge shot against the Spurs. I think either game 6 or game 7. I forget which one. That. Yeah. At the end of like the third quarter, he banged in a bomb, and it just I think it went from us being up 70-68 to like 71. It was like top
50 or something like that. I think.
Yeah. And he even said, he's like, "Listen," he says that just deflated him, but I spoke to him just about shooting with confidence. I don't care your statistics because in the moment, guys are hot, guys are cold, and they're never going to admit it because they're paid professionals. But when you're hot, your percentage is going to go up, and when you're cold, your percentage is going to go down. And there are certain guys. Chalmers is the perfect one. He's not, a superstar by any means, but the guy's very confident. And I said to him, listen, at the end of the game or mid-game, I want the confident shooter shooting. So like a guy like Tyler Hero was the example I gave him because I know he's big with the Heat, Mario. I said, Tyler Hero, when he shoots, I don't care if he's over 10. I know he's shooting with insane confidence. People call it delusional confidence, but it's what you need to have to get to where you want to be, in terms of professional sports. You look at Tom Brady. I could guarantee Tom Brady, when he was in college, high school, backup for the Patriots, he had the same confidence that he had after winning all the Super Bowls. Yep. Yeah. And people probably to his face, "Oh, you're delusional," and then now you can't say it because the guy won so much.
I mean, he walked into Robert Kraft's office he was pretty much a backup at Michigan.
Crazy,
Henson, and he literally told Kraft, "I'm going to win you championship." Yeah. Like, okay, whatever, buddy. You're right. It's that confidence. I will say this: OKC shot pretty good from the 3-point line, and those they didn't have a lot of the open looks they actually missed, and I think some of the contested ones they made.
All right, isn't that weird though? They only shot 40.6% from the field. That's the lowest clip they've shot since a regular season loss in the Hornets. That's their worst. That's their second worst game all season long.
But that's
so is it
that's
the defense, or is it that it's a mix of both? I doubt they shoot that poorly again, right?
I mean, I will say this. I hate every sports show and every podcast that says it's a little bit of both. We obviously always know that, right? But I think it was the Spurs athleticism that changed game one and kept that energy going, because we all kind of felt like when OKC took the lead late in the game, then jumped up in the first OT, you're just like, okay, and bad for them, right? I will say this. I took, on a YouTube short I posted, take the Spurs plus 6.5. I got reports that Jalen Williams doesn't look right yet. He looked right. He looked ready to go. And he made some great athletic plays where there was one where he made the play where he got kind of stripped, but he held the ball tight and he had to go grab it low, and he still made the contested layup. And the announcer said, I can't remember if it was Tarico or the other one, well, that will stretch out his hamstring. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Full speed. And the guy kind of stripped it down, but Jalen Williams is such a good player. And he kind of held it down and then went back up for the layup. And you're just like, come on, man. Like, it was just a great shot. And like, that was a time where I'm like, okay, because Jalen Williams is, I think, clearly the number 2. Chet is the number 3.
Yeah.
I will say this too. Chet was so unaggressive on offense.
100% correct.
Where he pump faked a 3 and the guy flew by. And instead of taking it to the rack, he sidestepped one step and shot a 3. I'm like, I want my 7-footer shooting 3s. I love that. But when you pump fake and the guy flies across you
got to go hammer.
Right?
Attack.
And
you know what's funny? You're 100% right, because when you start doing that, there's so many assistant coaches on each team that they're picking up on that. They go, okay, hey, let's look at this guy's frequencies and his tendency. So now your defensive game plan is like, okay, he's not shooting, so he's not punishing us. He's not punishing us, so we could sag a little bit, and vice versa. When he starts shooting that shot, knocking it down, they have to play tighter, and it opens up more space. But I think that I noticed that too. I said, wow, the guy's really not. Yesterday was the first game, the whole playoffs. I didn't send out any prop bets to my chat because I'm very tight with what I send out, and I didn't love anything. I looked at actually him with under 1.5 threes, but I just felt with Jalen Williams back, I didn't know exactly how it was going to play, how many minutes, how good he was going to look. I thought he looked amazing too, and I think when you mentioned that he's a 2, Chet's a 3, I think that's for sure. But I feel like down the stretch of these close games, especially in the West, this series is going to be in my mind, this is going to be the best conference finals the last 20 years since the Kings Lakers.
Oh my God! Yeah, that Kings Lakers. As a man, I said this embarrassingly. I'm like, I'm more excited for this year's than I am for the Knicks Cavs. Right?
Oh yeah.
One thing I wanted to say too. Oh motherfucker! I forgot what I was going to say, but yeah, I mean, it was kind of crazy just to see how Chet had 7 shots, 4 of them were 3s, didn't attack the rim. I'll also say this: Wemby was always going to be called soft coming into the league because he's just so skinny, right? But that guy is not soft on either side of the ball.
Yeah, you texted that last night. No, and what people don't realize it because LeBron went at Sengun for the Rockets. I forget what game, and Sengun said something like soft foul, and LeBron's like, "You're the only one on the team who can't." I don't know if you guys saw it, but
I didn't see this.
LeBron's like, "You're the only one who can't say. You're the only one who can't say that. Anyone on your team could say it, but you." And I actually agree with LeBron on that one because LeBron's played 23 years. In my mind, he's the GOAT, but if you have him 3, 4, doesn't matter. And LeBron's had to get fouled a million times. Very physical, very strong. And the way the refs call games in NBA, they call more for the small guys and less for the big guys.
100%. Shaq, perfect example.
When you mention, Wembanyama, he's not soft. He's hanging in there, high vertical, and he's getting smashed. And then you look at guys like Sengun, you're calling LeBron a soft call on LeBron. The guy's played so physical on both ends of the ball. I think it's crazy. And I was just going to say I think down the stretch, I think Caruso, in my mind, is going to be there 2 or 3 because he has the experience. And the experience in all these sports, I've really started to factor it into a lot of my...
So Chet's your 4 is what you're saying. Until he actually chooses to start shooting and do something with the ball, right?
He's not, and I don't think Chet's going... By the way, I don't think he's going to... I don't think you're going to see that. Maybe a game here or there when he gets switched on a smaller guy. There was a huge play last night. I think it ended in a foul. I don't remember because it was such a crazy game. But Wemby was guarded by Caruso. He got switched on to him in the low post, and I remember just yelling out "mouse" in the house because I think they were in the bonus. And that one, when you get an entry pass to Wemby with, let's just say, 10 or 11 seconds left, you're not. It's too late now. Caruso's great on when he could deny the ball and he's got to put it on the floor. But now it's too late because he could. And there was a couple of times where Wemby was forcing it and he was putting the ball on the ground on the elbow, getting doubled, and it was too many hands in traffic. Yeah. But I just think that for the rest of the series, my money's going to be on Caruso to perform well down the stretch over Chet. I think Jalen Williams showed last year he's going to be just fine. But I think you guys had mentioned Buff had mentioned the free throw percentage or the field goal percentage of the Thunder being 40.5, whatever. So I just looked it up. And with a lot of these statistics, I call it adjusted analytics and also advanced analytics, because with any data you could have confirmation bias and selection bias, right? Which a lot of people do in today's society, not just gambling or sports. So the first thing that I was suspicious of, that I didn't really look until you guys mentioned it, was the free throws, because free throws is a high correlation to efficiency, field goal percentage, etc. When you're shooting more free throws, that means you're getting more and ones, and the and one only counts if you make it. So the team that shoots more free throws should be shooting a higher field goal percentage theoretically.
Okay, yeah, I didn't know that. Okay.
And
Wemby was 12 for 13 from behind the line, so the buddy was definitely chalking it up.
That's what I was going to say. So I look right now and I see OKC shot 19 free throws, 16-19, which is pretty high. And then the Spurs shot 27-29. So a couple things that I didn't even dissect is, one, I don't think the Spurs will shoot 90% from free throw again. Two, of that high volume, and then two, when you're shooting 10 more free throws on the road, especially coming after a win, I think the refs are going to call it a little more the other way, just how the NBA is. Yeah. And also, I'm not surprised OKC didn't shoot that many free throws, that it dipped into their field goal percentage, because a lot, especially nowadays with so many athletic guys and so many good shooters, and they just know how to get the shots up when they get you in the air. Wasn't it who got fouled to end the game, the last possession of the game? Someone for OKC. Oh, I think it was Caruso. He got fouled. It was
Caruso, yeah.
And he went make, miss, and then miss on purpose. Yep. And my chat had second half Spurs money line, and the Spurs were up 7 at half, and they were up like 8 before that free throw. It landed on 7. So that one factored a lot into that.
Also, what a bad beat, right? If you had the under, because if you had the under for the game, first half was a pretty easy one. But if you had under for the game, you were still after first overtime, but you lost it because it went into double overtime.
Crazy.
Also, looking at this, the Spurs went 4 deep on their bench, which is a pretty short, right? Barnes at 6 minutes, Keldon Johnson, their 6th man at 22, Brian at 14, Cornette at 9, right? OKC went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but those minutes are really quick: 62, 80, 112, 122 minutes compared to 28, 42, 50 minutes. I'll say this. OKC, I think, wins game 2. OKC played horribly in the first half and still hung in there.
Yeah, I agree.
Home, I think we'll turn it around. And I think what you said, which is a really great point, I never really thought of it that way with the Spurs. Their floor is very low. And this is just going to be a game I think they're going to shit the bed a little bit. You know what I mean? And
their floor is very low. And people don't realize in all the sports, obviously, in hockey, anything could happen, but usually it's a team that reaches their high ceiling that wins it all, or in any sport. Could be in tennis too, because in tennis, generally speaking, to win a Grand Slam, you have to have a high ceiling and you have to reach it to win, especially to upset the top couple seeds. But I will say with the Spurs, I think their floor is very low. And I think he's right. What scared me, I said this last night, was they played, in my opinion, a great game from pretty much start to finish. And if they would have lost that game, I just see no way that the Spurs win the series. I looked last night on a couple sites I saw was minus.
Thanks, Ash. Appreciate that. Yeah, he's the GOAT. Finish your thought, because I have so many questions I need to pepper at you, Zach.
Yeah. No, so I just think that I don't agree with the lines on this series. I think that, and by the way, I've also, the announcers discussed this too. Do you think the home field affects more the road team having hostility and performing bad, and I don't know if it was Steve Gundy, but he said, I think the home court advantage affects more in the sense that you get to sleep in your own bed and you're more comfortable at playing at home. And I do agree with that. I think these guys are pros, and I think maybe the role players get affected because you see it with their split stats.
Yeah.
But I personally, this reminds me of, the Spurs when they played the Heat in 2013. And I'm the world's biggest Spurs fan, so I remember these games because I went to every game with my dad, every game. And the Spurs were up 3-2 leaving San Antonio, coming to Miami. And I remember all my Spurs fans and friends texting me, hey, before the season, if you would have 2 games to win 1 on the road, you would take it, right, for the championship. Yeah. And everyone was speculating that Popovich was going to, because the team was older, just take game 6 easy and rest everyone for game 7.
Yeah.
And I knew in my head, I said, no one with a brain is going to just give away a game in the NBA Finals. So I said, I don't see that as the case. This first came out, and that was their game to win, not game 7. They blew at the end. It's whatever. It's a conversation for a different day. But I think with the Spurs, I do think they're going to come out game 2 because they know how tough the series is going to be. And I think the thing that to me is interesting is I agree with TJ. I think OKC played like a C- game. I think the Spurs played an A- game, and it still wound up being super close. So, that does typically, when you look at regression, it leads towards the OKC rolling and playing, a high, or a high median game, and the Spurs playing a low floor game. But the line is still 6.5, and they're still plus 200. Obviously, there's some injury news we got to see with Darren Fox. I don't think he's going to affect the line that much either. Even if he gets ruled in, I don't think it's going to move because, the defense and the switching. And you saw yesterday how much scoring the rest of the team did. So they're not really missing. We don't need him to create because that's not the issue. I think in the overtime he would have been huge because I clearly thought that Wemby was tired. So I can't wait to see his usage rate, not just his minutes, because it's the same thing in football. You can pull up all these stats, but it's not how many minutes you play. It's the usage because you look at someone like Shaquille O'Neal. And I think Shaq at one point was the most dominant player in league history. But in Shaq in today's game, Shaq's not getting up and down the floor. If you're against Shaq, he's going to punish you on the offensive end. But you're going to be flinging it down the floor so fast, it's going to be a 4 and 5 fast break half the time. So with Shaq, okay, how many minutes does he play? But what is his usage rate on offense? And how much is he exerting to get in the post? And then on defense, how much are they going at him? So with Wemby, his usage rate on defense is 100%. He's defending 100%. Everything.
And his effort never dies on defense.
His effort never dies on
it. Cannot go. I've seen times in the first overtime, like you said, I saw too. There was one possession. He couldn't breathe. Like he literally.
Yeah, I saw it too.
I'm not putting him down for that. You're on the road.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Daniel's saying maybe the Spurs make him play a C- game. I just know this. TJ mentioned this earlier. OKC, they got a championship last year. They got tight in a couple of moments. This is another moment where they clearly got tight last night because the team who was in front of them got the best of them in the regular season. And they knew right away they were down 10. They're like, oh shit. Here we go. All right, we're gonna fight back. We got a third quarter run. We're gonna lock it down. And they started doing their OKC thing. But there is something to the degree that it is still a younger team in OKC. They're still building into this juggernaut because, obviously they have all these picks, all these players, all these guys on the bench, McCain, blah, 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 that there's still going to be these growing pains. And I think this is a great test for them to get through a Spurs team because this is just going to have to galvanize them. It's going to have them use that experience. They're going to have to lean on what they did last year if they're really going to get through it because this is a team that seems to have their number right now.
Yeah.
Well, I was just gonna say where I agree with them 100% is they had some tight spots last year, and I know a lot of people don't like excuses, but the fact is the last 2 seasons, and I had a lot of money on OKC the last 2 seasons. I knew they were gonna be great 2 years ago when they made the run to I think it was the Western Conference Finals against the Mavericks, or it could have been the second round. I think it was the second round, and then the Mavericks played the Wolves, but. They were down in game. They were up like 18 points in game 6, I think, at Dallas, and the lead evaporated within a couple of minutes. And by the end of the third quarter, I think it was a tie game. But SGA had a ticky-tack foul at the end of that game. I forget who it was from the Mavs that shot the free throws, and they wound up winning. But I look at they choked that series against the Mavericks. I think they would have won in 7 if they didn't blow an 18-point lead. And then you look at last year, where he's right where people are going to say, where they were battle tested last year. Not really, because I look at their road. Not only was it an easier road, but when they played the tough teams like the Denver Nuggets, I think in the second round, they were playing without Aaron Gordon. He played, but he was on one leg, and you saw it in Game 7. He did nothing. And even this year, I was huge on the Nuggets.
Also, he was doubtful going into Game 7. Then he just was like,
Michael Porter wasn't healthy either. They were just banged up, you know.
And these guys, like any guy who suits up, whether you play good, bad, or whatever, I respect it because not everyone has the same toughness. And I think Aaron Gordon is just an animal for even attempting to play. This year, I saw, I think, second game against the Timberwolves, I noticed right away that they weren't even using him at all, and his defense just wasn't there. So I said, man, I think I'm gonna, bow out gracefully because I don't think he's 100%. And then as the series progressed, he played less and less, and then he even sat out a couple of games. So when you mention OKC, they've had some tight spots. Not only do I agree 100%, but their tight spots weren't even against teams at their best. They played Denver, who wasn't, I'm gonna say 70% healthy, and then they go on and who did they play last year in the Western Conference? Was it the Timberwolves in the Western Conference Finals?
Yeah, that was a cakewalk too.
That was a cakewalk. And then they played the Pacers, which, if we're being honest, the Pacers were like the team of destiny, right? The way they won all the games last year. And I personally, I had one of my biggest positions I had last year, and I sent this one out for free to a lot of people. I had OKC to win it all last year at plus 185. That was the worst I took it from like late in the season. And then I had so much on it that when it went to Game 7, I actually moved a ton of the market because I slammed the Pacers. The second line opened. I'm like, I have a bad feeling like that this team just, they're on the road. They're playing with house money. I slammed the Pacers plus 5.5 for Game 7. And I had, if the OKC would have won Game 7 by less than 9, I would have won both. I would have won like just shy of $500,000. And of course, early on, I loved the way the game was playing. Halliburton was playing amazing. I wanted to stay close. And then he went down with Achilles injury. I will say, one, I run bad in those spots, but two, I actually think they would have had a realistic shot to beat him. And it just gets back to what you're saying is like every time they've been tested, they just get bailed out by the basketball guys. It's like, okay, in my mind, the last 20 or so years, Halliburton's run last year was got to be at least top 10 of playoff performances.
Yeah, 4 game-winning playoff shots. And that's what we've been saying. I keep on telling people.
The brick choke shot, everybody remembers.
That was, insane.
Yeah, he bricked the three-pointer, won the game.
TJ's still so tired about that.
No, he's right. You know what's funny? I lost a lot of money in that game, so I'm salty too. No, I just saw it last night. They showed the clip. I think they were down like 13 with, forget it was 17 with 3 minutes. They were down 13 with like a minute. And I'm superstitious. So when all the gamblers talk about it, I'm the same way. That was the first game I watched with my social media manager last year. We watched at Moxie's in downtown Fort Lauderdale. And I had like, I don't know if it was 60K to win 40 on the Knicks, just game 1 and huge on the series. And I wasn't even watching the game. I was talking to her and her roommate and whatever we were talking about. And then out of nowhere, I look and now the lead's 9, whatever. And then when they came back and they won, that one I was legit sickened. I remember calling my dad. I was like, how do I lose like this? And she's like, oh, it's not a big deal. I'm like, it's a 100K swing. It's kind of a big deal.
Oh, yeah. That game, I was yelling at my daughter, trying to tell her towards the end of the game just to manage her emotions when her big brother picks on her. And then she saw me throw a Fire Stick remote and get blasted on the wall into 35 pieces. And my wife was not setting a great example. Also,
control your emotion.
Yeah.
I mean, that one was just absurd. And people talk about the scripts, and like what I try to tell people is they try to say, oh, the NBA's rigged. It's not rigged like wrestling. They don't walk in the room and say, hey, you're going to make this shot. We're going to whatever. I think it's skewed because I do think, they call it a certain way. And that one, you can't script that, right?
No,
the Knicks choke, they made no shot. That one legitimately, there's a couple of games you lose big money on with your teams. With the Spurs, there's a couple Spurs memories. The Ray Allen, the Derek Fisher in 2004. I still can't watch those videos because those ones are just heartbreakers.
I still remember the Derek Fisher cut and kind of flung it like this. It went in. And Naismith, people forget. First of all, let's go back to the thought with the Pacers. They're one of the worst teams in the NBA this year. Now, they didn't have Miles Turner or Halliburton, but that was the team that pushed OKC to the brink. That's why I'm telling people as a Knicks fan, especially after watching this game, I'm not dumb enough to say, oh, the Knicks are going to go in and spank them. But as a Knicks fan, I'm not terrified of OKC.
I just want to see OKC beat these teams with a healthy Spurs team, with a healthy Knicks or whoever comes out of Cavs. Like, let them all be healthy so we can get a real read on the greatness of this dynasty that everybody's already proclamating or crowning.
Yeah, this was first real test, and they didn't fail. But Zach, let me get into. I want to talk a little bit about like your increments, right? How do you know if you're going to put 5,000, 20,000, 50,000, or 200,000 on a game? And I'm not even going to say those are your ranges, like when it comes to the lower end, because I'm sure you throw in player prop parlays and stuff. But when let's just say this, when you're going to lay the lumber and go for a 6-figure bet, how do you decide? Are you waking up in the morning kind of thinking, I got this warm and tingly feeling? Or is it just crunching numbers, and then you have a buddy or two that you bounce it off of?
And it's what the model shows you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a combination of all of those. Everyone has a different risk tolerance. And my big thing with my brand is full transparency and integrity, because I see a lot of people online just promoting picks that I personally, again, you can't just accuse people, but I use the scientific method. I have a theory, and I try to find data and scientific facts to back it up.
I like to throw darts.
So, I see these people on Instagram or just social media, and they I love Pimo. I love Pimo.
Hey, thanks for listening, guys. I know Zach brought you guys in here. Please like and subscribe. We're going to try to have some fun here. And
I'll tell you, before I answer that question, I was with Pimo's name's also Zach, and one of my favorite people. They won. We were watching the Lakers OKC. I think it was game 4. And I had sent out to my chat the Lakers money line 12-1, and everyone had it, right? And they were up 1 with 30 seconds left. And I remember looking, the Lakers were like minus 130 to win with 30 seconds left. And that was a tough one to lose. But
that sucks. Are you hedging out at all when it's like their mind? Are you just or no?
You can't really get the liquidity down. Most sites don't have it up, and the clicks are 2,000.
That late, right? That late.
Yeah, and a lot of people. What they don't understand, like getting back to answering Buff's question, is I know all the markets, all the sites, all the limits of the ones that I'm on, right? So I can't speak for certain bookie sites I've never used, etc. And I know what the lines were because I watch them throughout the day, and I have my leans, like you said, when I wake up. Just because I have a lean doesn't mean I'm going to bet it. I got to get a good number. I got to analyze all the information. But I think that a lot of these people are posting picks, and they're sending it 12 hours before any news is released. So, of course, it's a square bet. And then I see their post, and it's technically after the game. One of my posts for the Cavs, it went viral for.
Oh, yeah, you slammed it. You were very.
I slammed it, and people could see the reason why I went viral is they saw the bets up for $200,000, and they see it said 8 hours ago at like 4 a.m. So you see it was up there before the game started.
Yeah.
Not posting at halftime when the team's up. No one cares.
Yeah, it's all bullshit.
No one gives a fuck. But for me, I like not only to run all the injury news, all my modeling, but I also, I'm a little bit contrarian where I don't like to be on the public side because I feel like the public inflates numbers. I think the OKC line, I can't project what it's going to close at because the injury news, like with Fox, is Fox going to get ruled in, etc. I'm sure there's probably some other sneaky injuries too. I remember, speaking of Fox, I remember a couple of years ago, I had one of my biggest bets that I gave out to a lot of people. I had the Kings like plus 250 against the Warriors 2 years ago, first round. And I had I couldn't get it down on all sites. When you guys ask, how big a bet? Some sites it's only 5K, some it's 10K. And as it gets closer to tip, there's more liquidity. So, and my plays are very price sensitive. So I remember for that series, I was huge on the Kings, huge. And I think I wound up having like 100 to win 250. I don't remember. It was so long ago. And the one thing I've noticed with Fox, he's a great player and I like him. He's on the Spurs, but a lot of sneaky injury news with him because he broke his finger game 4 against the Warriors. They missed a shot, the Kings, to win that game, to go up 3-1 at the gun. And it was wound up being tied 2-2. And I remember loving my spot because I had like plus 250 and it was tied going back home. And then out of nowhere, I'm at lunch. I remember exactly where I was. And I got an injury break that he broke his finger, which obviously you got to figure the guys out. He wound up playing, I think.
Oh, no, I remember that. Yeah.
Game 6 and 7. But when you get that one, like with my chat, I wouldn't be able to send it out on time. It's going to move too fast. 2, I'm not going to be able to get 100K on the other side. It just, you don't have that much time to do it. But when people go, why'd you bet big on this game? Some of my bets, some of my highest ROI plays, I don't get a lot on because like a lot of the player props I'm doing or the team totals, you can't get a lot on. Yeah. I send them to my chat because they're the highest ROI and I want the chat to win. It's not all about my plays, right? I remember. Did
you hedge out at all your 200K bet on Cleveland? Because you know that you could just put a little money on Detroit. They're down 18. Like,
no, you know what's funny? I'm usually pretty greedy with those, and whenever like the comeback happens in my head, just like every other game, I'm not any different. I'm like, wow, what a greedy piece of shit.
yeah.
But I will say
No, I remember famously with my friends, I put 1,000, which was a huge bet for me on the Dodgers, and Kershaw was pitching versus the Astros in the World Series. So the Dodgers went up 4-0. We were drinking all day at a golf tournament, and my buddy goes, Astros are 12-1. Just put 100 on Houston. And I looked at him like, not clear head. I go, I'd be pissing away $100.
yeah.
And then Houston lit up Kershaw. It was like 12-11 in extra innings. The whole time I'm watching, I'm just like, why wouldn't I just throw 100 on the other side? But I get it. With you, you'd be risking 10 grand. And then the whole time in your mind, you're going to be like, I won 190 instead of 200. Right?
No, and it's so true. And what's funny is
it's maddening, though. It's sickening because it's really not great business overall, right? I mean,
the one thing I always advocate is people do the cash outs. By the way, I've done them too because liquidity reasons. And I knew I couldn't get it on the other side. So I hit cash it out.
Get it and roll it, or
say it again.
You wanted to cash it out so you could roll it into something else, or no?
Or I just wanted to get out of the position. I just didn't like the position. And I would never do a cash out except for a huge position where I knew I couldn't bet the other side because they charge way more juice. I tell people, if you have, like you said, if you have the Spurs last night, money line plus 190 is the price I sent out. It actually closed a little bit against us because they're in Fox News and just the public betting. But I would have bet more at the end on, like, I could have got like plus 228 on some site, but I also have exposure limits too. I don't want to just have a ton of one play when I have them for the series and the spread. But I always tell people, if you're scared of position, one, you're probably betting too big because you should only be betting money you can afford to lose. But two is you're better off just betting the other side. You get a better price. When you cash out, they just rob you. And that's for every sport. They rob you. And the last couple hedges that you mentioned that I've done, I did a couple. One was early this year, probably like 6-7 months ago. I think I had the girl Rabakina in tennis. Huge, like 100K play against, I think, Victoria Mboko, who just come up. She's like 20 years old. And I just didn't love when she choked the second set. And I went over this. One of my friends who plays pro tennis, we were out one night. They came to me. It's at Hard Rock, actually. And he introduced me to one of his friends. He said, hey, this guy used to be my coach. We started talking. His name's Alex. And he's hired by a couple top 30 male players on ATP. And he does a lot of their data tracking. So we got to discussing different things we do. And he said, how he studies a lot of numbers where when tennis players get breaks, when they break, why do they often get broken back, right? And finding out the why is tough to do, but it's there in the data. Yeah. So reason why I say this is I wound up not cashing out of that play, but betting the other girl for pretty much break even. If I had 100 to win 50, whatever it was, I probably put like 40 to win 90 on that girl, etc. And then the other girl wound up winning, so I saved money by hedging. And then the last hedge, you guys would find this funny, last year. And again, like I say with these people on, what do you want to call them? Adversaries, competitors who are doing content and picks. They'll never acknowledge me because I know all the sites. I have all the limits. And from the VIP tax, I showed one guy that he didn't want to believe me, but on one site, I bet over 100 million lifetime. And he's like, oh, you made it up today? I said, listen, I could log into my account and show you my name, the account, and it'll show the tier I'm at. But I just don't have time for that. I'd rather just help people try to win. And I will say this.
If you're putting 200K on a game, you're not saying you won 100 million, you bet 100 million. 200K on the Cavs, 100 million is not very unrealistic.
Right.
I mean, you were 0.2% of what you risked 0.2% of that 2 nights ago. So
right. But I'm saying there's a lot of non-believers. And then even now I'm like, my team's like, hey, stop wasting your time with the haters. I try to do it for engagement because I see the harassment the players, the men and the women get a little bit more, obviously, the women. But just getting back to the funny story with the hedging, with the Panthers last year in the playoffs, and I'm the Panthers' biggest fan since day one. My dad had me on the cover because he did their opening, and I've gone to every game. Win, lose, draw. If they suck, didn't matter. So there's been plenty of games in the playoffs they lost in double overtime. Home game 7, 2012 against the Devils. So last year they're playing the Oilers, and they're up game 1 late, and the Oilers score late to tie it, and I don't hedge. I don't know if I had like 100, 150 on that game. I had huge on the series. And the Panthers lose the game in overtime, right? So I'm sickened. I lost a lot of money. Because we should have won. We were up late, and then I'm sickened because we're down 1-0, and I want to go back to back. And I know as well as you guys do how tough it is to go back to back in any sport.
Yeah.
So go to game 2. It's a must win. We're up again late, and you could get I'm making up this number because I don't remember exactly. I think the Oilers were like plus 850 late, right?
Jesus.
And like TJ said,
only game 2. It's only game 2.
Only game 2. But they were plus 850 to win that game. So because the Panthers were up like 3-2 or something. And I remember in my head, like, I'm a greedy piece of shit. I didn't take it, right? So here's the sick part.
Obviously won, right? Game 2.
So the Panthers blow it again. They score with no time left. And I'm like, oh my God, the Panthers are gonna lose. You're gonna be sickened. So when it went to the intermission for overtime, I said, you know what? Let me cash some out. Because if they lose, I won't be able to sleep. Forget it. It's not about necessarily the money. It's just I'm such a diehard Panther fan. So I actually couldn't get the money down to hedge the 6 figures in the middle of intermission because each site it's 500 limits, 1,000, whatever.
Yeah.
And I think Hard Rock takes big limits on those, but I just didn't have a ton on there. So I wound up cashing out like 50 grand on whatever site. And that was the only time with the Panthers I cashed out. And the reason why I did is I'm like, I just want them to win so bad. It's not about the money. And then of course they win. And it's just funny. It's like the one you don't cash out, they lose. The one you cash out, they win. And that's just for every gamble. That's always, it appears to be the story. But
amen.
It's just very interesting because I do think a lot, getting back to that tennis coach, he was showing me some of the data when Sabalenka played Rybaka Indian Wells Championship and Australian Open, and how in Australian Open, Rybakina won the match, and her statistics, she won 75% of the deuce side, and then it flipped into Indian Wells. So it's like, how does it flip that much from dominating one match to the other on the same type of surface? And I think there's just a ton of variance in sports, but also you don't like, even with the pro guys in NBA, you don't know where they're at mentally game to game. If they broke up with them, what's going on in their life, if they didn't sleep good. So I just think that there's so many intangibles. We talk about the pressure and Caruso with Chet. Chet, in my mind, I don't think Chet's a confident shooter. And they're all going to say, I'm confident, but I think that's all bullshit. And I want the Tyler Hero, Mario Chalmers confidence.
We got a question coming in. I don't know if Rob posted it yet, but Mura Camito, there we go. And guys, we're going to give out his information soon, and you can put the promo code in there, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But when are you making live bets? Do you share live bets with paid subscribers? I think you kind of shared that earlier, but you're kind of like you're scared to do it because everything's moving so fast, right?
A lot of the stuff. Like there was one the other day. What was I forgot. I was at Hard Rock the other day. I made a live bet, and I remember one of my friends who's in my chat. I said, this one. I said, it's not. I'm not going to be able to send it to the chat. It's going to move too fast. It's in the middle of whatever it was, and I think that bet wound up winning. But I almost never hedge. The only way I would hedge would be like a series price that was good, but in the middle of games, it's too fast. I could never send. It'd be impossible. And like I told you, I'm already averse to hedging for 2 reasons. One, it's too much juice. And I don't want to pay.
The juice is horrible, right? Even at best, it's minus 120 both ways.
Even if you cash out, you're getting legit robbed. And then 2, if you bet the other side, you're paying double juice. So, and like I said, if you have to hedge, you're probably betting too big. Mine with the Panthers was strictly more just emotional because like I'm massive Panther fan. Like I take the team very serious. Like I changed my whole schedule when they're in the playoffs. Like I golfed 9 holes instead of 18 to watch their road games, etc. So I don't really send those to my chat because I'm just not a proponent of it. And I tell people, I'm like, and I'll write in the chat because I know there's people who are betting more than they should, even though I advocate not. And I say, listen, if you're thinking of cashing out or whatever, I wouldn't cash out. I'd bet the other side because you will save like 5% juice, depending on the site it is.
And you're talking about if you're betting the limits, you're betting that could be hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of the year, which could be your profit, right? In all reality.
Yeah, I had one of the sites when Luka beat the T-Wolves. I had a huge play on the T-Wolves. I think it was 2 or 3 years ago in the Western Conference Finals against the Mavericks. And I think it was like –
thanks for listening, Mira.
I don't know if it was game 2, 3. It was whenever the T-Wolves – I must have been like game 1 or game 2. The T-Wolves were up 2 with like no time left. And Luka winds up hitting a 3 over Rudy Gobert. He got switched on Rudy, and he hit a 3 over Rudy to win the game. And – I was able to.
Everybody remembers that because Rudy got dogged in the media.
I mean, to be fair, it's not a fair matchup. It'd be like me fighting Mike Tyson. So I remember I was able to cash out the series bet for like small loser. The game was essentially over. It was like 0.3 seconds left, whatever. And on one side, because they had the option open. So there are some glitches and exploitive opportunities. But, getting back to, I want to make 2 points. One for last night's game and the game we just mentioned with Luka. If I'm the favorite in anything, not just sports, when I'm the favorite, I want more of the longer run. I want less variance, less short run. So when I'm the favorite, I'm more likely to play.
Don't take the first quarter if you love the game, right? Because
correct. Okay. Especially if you're the favorite. But from a coaching standpoint, and this happened this year to the Gators coach, the Gators were up 2 with like no time left in March Madness, and he didn't foul, and they hit a 3, which if I'm the other team, I'm only shooting a 3. I'm a way worse team. I don't want to go in overtime against the Gators. It's 5 minutes. It's a lot of volume. So I thought the Gators coach made a horrific non-foul there. And I think that on a lot of these teams, whether it's the Gobert situation against Luka, when you get switched, you got another going to go right at you for the pick and roll. So you already in timeout should have some counter for that. But 2, you should have, okay, if we get switched, I'm not willing to go down on my blade and let Luka just hit a 340% to beat me. Because analytically speaking, I'm sure it's going to show it's right anyways. But even if it didn't, I would rather foul Luka before he gets the shot up from Rudy, intentionally foul. He's not a great free throw shooter. Say, hey, you got to make both. You make both, which you're already, let's just say he's like 70%. I'd put him at 49% to make both. But let's just say he's a little higher, 56%. He's 56% to make both. So 44%, you're getting ball up with the free throws.
And you get the ball back.
You get the ball back. Yeah. So my logic is when you foul him, you're getting the ball back no matter what. And then you have last shot. And then if you miss, you're home as the favorite for 5 minutes. So I thought last night one of the biggest plays was Wemby. I said this to you guys in the pre-show. Wembanyama, very high basketball IQ. And people aren't going to give him credit, similar to like LeBron, because he's so athletic. That how could you not notice that first? But LeBron's IQ is very, very, very high. Whether Michael's better or Kobe's better, whatever, LeBron is a one-off player too. And also LeBron's played like 22 years with almost no injury. So in my mind, LeBron is the best of all time because his rating for 22 years, he was the best player in the league for over 12 years. And the guy's still a top 10, top 5 player now. But when you look at the play, I think it was at the end of regulation, it was 97-95 Spurs. And SGA got an easy layup. And a lot of people, a lot of sharps call them mouth breathers or just Monday morning quarterbacks. They're probably sitting there, oh my God, awful defense. Disagree. One, you're guarding one-on-one SGA, the MVP. No one could guard him one-on-one. That's too silly. And then you have no help from Wembanyama because where Wemby was right in that play, he knew to hang back, and he knew he had to let his guy get rinsed because if he comes and helps, he does deny the shot. He's just throwing it to Chet, and now Chet's shooting a 3 wide open, and the corner 3 is the highest percentage, and he's probably that one 40%. I would put a little bit lower because, like I said, I don't think Chet's shooting with super confidence.
Yeah,
but if I'm the Spurs, I'm not happy in that spot, losing the game 40% then and there. I'm like, let you make the 2.
I knew Eric was going to say something about the goat.
You knew he was going to chime in about LeBron being the goat.
By the way, I'm not a LeBron fan, by the way. I'm not a LeBron fan.
Dude, Zach, you're saying the exact same thing I've said to our buddy Eric for years now. And I'm like, I'm not a LeBron fan, but he's the GOAT. It hurts me to say it. Hey, Zach, you know what pisses me off, Zach, about some of these dumbos that are promoting their bets? They're like, we hit a 4-leg parlay yesterday. But guess what? That 4-leg paid even money because these idiots are taking over 6 rebounds for Wemby.
Yeah. Stupid.
I get it. But don't promote it like you hit a 4-leg parlay. Say you hit one bet.
Right.
Because you got to do, first of all, 4 have to go your way. You're taking over 6 rebounds, Wembanyama. Over 9 points, Harper, which, 13.5 was actually the even. But I'm trying to say, I hate when guys are, and that's what you were talking about earlier with transparency. And I think it's important. The transparency vibe and code has been around for a while. The great ones will literally show you, and the subscribers hate to hear that as a great bettor, you're only going to win 60%, right? They want to hear 80 or 90. Right?
Yeah, I'm not, and I told him the irony that you mentioned that is for the last year or so, I did a ton of free content and free plays, and specifically when I was in Orlando for Christmas, my biggest free plays that I've posted have won at a crazy clip. I personally think it's I usually get unlucky in those spots, but I feel like it is the karma because I have so many people tailing the bets and the ways they've won. I remember telling you a couple of them when we were in Orlando.
Yeah.
But I'm always honest, and I told people what I thought my win rate and ROI would be, and the chat is almost exactly at where I thought it would be. It was doing a little better than that, and I was telling
Which is what is it at?
I didn't do yesterday the chat, I think I probably sent out like 30 or 40 bets. I think the chat lost 1 unit on the day overall because of a bunch of baseball. And I sent, like you said, with underdogs, I sent one of the bets I sent. I did a lot in the hockey game that did very well. One of the bets that lost was I sent no goals in the second period, 5-1 underdog. So like that counts in my accounting as 0-1 loser.
And that's why
dog to win that one.
Exactly.
But all these other, like he said, all these capper, they're posting minus 800s and shit. Mine are just profitable bets. So the chat right now, I'll pull it up for you. As of 2 days ago, because the accounting takes a while, so I didn't do it the last days. My chat is, I have two chats, but the main one is 2,400 and 2,400, a little bit over 2,400 total bets. We're up 149 units. That number's going to come down because the last couple of days, I think we lost overall. And that was through 68 days. And the ROI was, I think, just above 6%, like 6.2%. I think now it's probably going to be at 5.8%. And then the win rate was at like 56.8%. The win rate's not going to really dip because we have so much volume. Yeah. And the ROI can, because I'm sending favorites and dogs. I'm not shy either way because a profitable bet's a profitable bet. And people are like, oh, we lost a big favorite the other day in tennis. Iga Swiatek, I sent minus 375. She closed minus 475. But I'm not scared of those. And like I tell people, I say, listen, when I send the big favorites, it's not about the one. It's about how are we going to do in the minus 300s when I send 10. If we go 8-2, we're winning 800, winning 8 units, losing 2 units times 3. We're losing 6 units, so we're profiting 2 units over 10. It's a 20% ROI, right? Yeah. And that's what I care about. And we hadn't lost a big favorite in a while, so we were kind of overdue. But where you're right is people could skew their data. They could post it after the fact, etc. One girl on social media, and I don't really, tag her or anything because I always try to promote the girls in sports, but she posted a couple weeks ago, like under in a Magic game that I had sent out, and I had my eyes on that one from the night before. So what they don't realize is I have all the sites, and I move the screens, so I know what the number was. I know what it was at midnight. Maybe not 7 in the morning when I'm sleeping. So she posted, I don't know if it was like under 222.5, and I got my chat. I think the number was like 220.5 under for like a Magic Pistons game, and it closed in our favor at like 219.5. But when she posted the number, she posted like minus 115 juice. You couldn't have got that number pregame. You could have maybe got it live, but she was acting like she knew whatever. But my point is that you got to be posting, real stats, real lines that people could get. Like in my chat, I tell them, I say, listen, I can't guarantee you're going to get my lines on your book because everyone's on different sports books. But I tell them most of the sports books what I answer all my DMs and say, hey, sign up on this sports book, etc. And I tell them, if you're going to subscribe to my chat, it's not for recreational use. It's to win, and the lines are moving fast. And it's the only way is to beat the market before they react to the news and anything.
Yeah, because points matter, like especially in basketball, like especially if you're taking over first quarters, which I know there's a great play I love today. It's over 54.5 first half Knicks total points. It was that last night. I don't know.
Okay.
Do you love that? Like that? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I do. I do some team totals more so in baseball. Ironically, I've done some this year in NBA playoffs. I think the team totals this year in NBA playoffs we've done pretty bad because I've picked high volatile games, which is where you get the better numbers. I think like the Knicks against the Sixers when they lost by 50, that one we just got obliterated. But I will say I love when he mentions first half Knicks total. I love a lot of the first quarter over-unders. I think those bets for this playoffs we've crushed, mainly because those go true to form. When you're betting, and I say this in hockey too, when you're betting hockey first period totals, which I've done a lot of and we've done extremely well, you don't have to worry about them pulling the goalie in the game getting crazy, which God knows where it could go. And the same thing in the NBA. I'll answer this question in a second. In the NBA, when you do a first quarter total, generally the only thing that could really shoot the variance through the roof is foul trouble. When there's bonuses where it stops the clock, etc. And that's factored into all algorithms for anyone who models games. But I love the first quarter totals because if I get under 54.5 and it closes 53.5, etc., that 1 point is huge in the first quarter because the possessions are going to run true to form. When you go to the fourth quarter, it's just a way different game. And then also in the third quarter, even though with halftime, it's still, you could bake it into the calculations. Some teams are not going to tell you this, but like when they're like the Pistons, one of the games I think against the Magic, when they're down big, they're playing to win. They don't care about the spread or your over under, so they're coming out flying. Same thing in hockey too. So it really could change once the pace in the NBA game in the middle of the quarter. Once it changes, it's going to shoot up or down, 10 points like easily. Yeah. So like I tell everyone, if I beat an over under for the game by 2 points and I beat a first quarter by half a point, it's when you dilute it, it's the same thing. But the first quarter, first half, the more you add to it, the more variance. It's counterintuitive because you could project a first period easier than a full game. Yeah. But obviously, when you bet a full game, like under 222, it closes 220, you get the full game volume, so it's less likely one play could fuck you.
Exactly.
In the first quarter, you get a
to form, right? Where if a guy hits three threes in a row, that could change the whole first quarter. Right?
Well, I had a huge play for the Cavs, ironically, that you mentioned it, and I, my chat, everyone messages me, and I agree. I'm like, oh, we never get lucky, which it does appear that way, but we're usually, when you're on unders or underdogs, you are less likely to get lucky because the way the games play out, it favors the favorites and it favors the overs in any sport. Generally speaking, anything lucky at the end of the game is going to help out the over. Overtime, an empty net goal, an error in baseball. And last year, I felt like I lost 7 figures last year in baseball just on errors. Guys dropping fly balls. And I said, okay, wait a second. Yeah. You're always on the underdogs, the shit teams, which I still think that one was unlucky. But when you have unders in baseball, which I probably sent out 85% unders because that's where the value is, you can't get lucky by the error in baseball when you have the under. Yeah. It only helps the over. So, of course, you're going to be unlucky more than lucky. But we got lucky Sunday night's game. I sent out over 50.5 first quarter Cavs, and it was exactly 50. And Mitchell, Spider-Man, hit a half court shot.
3-quarter, half court shot. That's crazy.
Lucky.
Dang.
Yeah, that one put it up. That one was actually fucking crazy. Yeah, I will say that one was bananas. But
that's when you type in the group chat, easy win, and move on.
Yes, boys, I hate to do this. I got maintenance people here. I got an appointment I got to run to. I put my whole day around this, Zach. It was an absolute pleasure getting to hang out. And obviously, if you want to pop
thing, Zach, me and you are going to stay on though, okay?
Yeah, sure.
Yep, y'all are rolling, man. Zach, I appreciate you. I'm listening still, and I'll be hitting you up next time. I just wanted to say respectfully, thanks for your time.
I'll be back.
And of course, man, thanks for hanging out, bro. All right, TJ, Rob, pull me out, man. One love, y'all. Thanks for hitting in, like, and subscribe, and start getting this going. You still got some good basketball talk and some football coming up.
All right, thanks, Buff. So one of the I've known your family for a while, great family. And the one story that really kind of wowed my mind was the Bitcoin League. Can you talk a little bit about the Bitcoin Fantasy League?
Yeah.
And how did it start? And tell them how you kind of had to sneak in the side door because they didn't really want. I mean, I'm not trying to.
Yeah. No, I usually
put you in a bad light, but it was one of those things where it was like a celebrity league kind of, right? It was
Yeah, I mean, I've been invited a couple of those too. And what's funny is I got invited to a huge celebrity league. I don't want to say, the names of who was running the league, but big buy-in for last season. And I've been stiffed, with gambling like many people have in fantasy leagues, collusion, etc. So I know what to look for with the red flags. And I think one of the main guys in the league was one of the big anchors for one of the big news stations. I don't want to say the name, but I wound up not doing it last year because the people who were holding the money, I just got a bad vibe, and it was big money. And I'm like, I don't, it's so tough to win, and I want to get paid when I win. And I tell people that I always relate to the Kobe Bryant picture with the trophy because, if anybody understands how tough it is to win, it's Kobe. And, at the end of a long day with my chat or my own stuff, I always take into account how tough it is to win because I've had big wins, big losses. And as you get older, you realize, man, like you took the wins for granted. So I always relate to that with Kobe because in fantasy, I've had, super bad luck in the championship, super good luck, etc. And we got into this league 2 years ago. This would be the third year. And it was one Bitcoin buy-in. One Bitcoin, I think, was worth $60,000. And the person who was running the league, who I work with, they're on my team for sports. I think he's actually podcast friendly, so I think he will eventually come on. But He got me in the league. Last person, I was in Orlando. I think it was at one of the amusement parks, and he said, "Listen, you got to send it by tonight because we're finalizing all the rules and everything."
Yeah.
So I said, "Hey, I'm
12 man.
I think it was a 12-man league, yeah."
Okay,
and he says, "Listen." I told him, I said, "Listen, I'm legitimately at Epcot. I'm like, when I get back to the hotel room, I'll have it sent, whatever." And I sent it like around whenever I got back that night.
Yeah.
And then they did the draft order. They did one of those sites where they put in 12 names and the guys all run to the end zone for the draft order. And I think we got fourth. I think we got 8th or 9th pick. I don't remember. But the biggest thing was it was such a big league, and I don't have the time to run a league that intensive, because that one I'm going to be on top of it, right?
Of course. Yeah.
So I spoke to one of my friends who's one of the best daily fantasy sports guys in the world. Very egotistical guy, but the guy is amazing.
He's a star.
Yeah. I said, "Listen, I'm only going to do it if you run it, because I don't have the time. Like I'll be involved, but I don't have the time to be on every single day." And I wound up being very highly involved because it was my name, and my name's on it, changes everything. And we had a friend who got us in the league, so he's probably watching us now too. His name's Jay, and great golfer, by the way, great golfer. And he
not Jay as in Jack, right? Because I see a Jack in our chat right now. But
no, not Jay.
Okay,
Jack,
yeah.
no. So
right, yeah.
So he gets in the league, and he knows like nothing about fantasy. So I said, "Listen," I said, "we should crush," but like I tell my chat, I said, "I can't guarantee wins and make me full of shit like everybody else." So I think he took like a 25% of the equity, and then I split the rest with my friend who was, a partner, and then I gave my dad a piece.
Your dad always has a piece.
Yeah,
of it. I know that.
and it's funny, when I do, I took 10%. I said, "Listen, I wouldn't sell 10% out to anybody. My dad, of course, but I'm just like, I don't want to sell a piece, right?" So I remember in the middle of the draft, we like the draft, and we started doing side bets. We had like 5K versus a couple people, and then by week 4, we had like 25K a week in side bets. And I've been
I remember that. Literally, you're going ahead every week versus one or two of them, right? Just not playing.
It wound up being 3 teams, and one team actually beat us for the year. I mean, what's funny is I'm always biased, like everyone in fantasy. Fantasy is geared so you come back. So what happens is there's only 12 teams, 10 teams, 8 teams. Everyone's team is loaded at the draft because it's only 12 teams. So every year when someone loses, "Oh, how'd you lose? Your team was loaded." Yeah, so was the other 10 teams.
Yeah.
So I forget this year. I think we had like Kyron Williams, Malik Neighbors his first year, Justin Jefferson. And the irony was that this is how sometimes it comes full circle. I remember going over to my friend's place to do the draft, and the guy, Jay, who got us in the league, he was just a silent partner. And I said, "Listen, let us do our thing." And I think it was 8 Bitcoin for first, 2 for second, which is 10. And then the other 2 Bitcoin, I think, went to like most points or best record. I forget which one. We didn't win either of those. So we wind up sweeping all the side bets the first 3 or 4 weeks. And my friend meets me at like 1 a.m. after Monday night to get paid his fair share of the side bets. He said, "Hey, you don't mind, right?" I said, "No." I said, "We're crushing, no problem." And every side bet I did, I clarified it was all in Telegram. I said, "Listen, every side bet must be squared by Tuesday at midnight, one full day after the Monday night games."
Yeah.
And I don't like tow money. My brand is I snap pay. I snap. And with a lot of the big figures with the gambling, with guys I work with on my team, I snap pay. And some guys will have, "Oh, we'll wait till 10K, so we'll have a rolling figure," whatever. So one guy, was hitting me up because he's mad I haven't been able to work with him the last couple of weeks because I've been so busy. I said, "Listen, wait till later in the week. I got a couple podcast related things from yours, from my own, and I'll be able, to start, really getting down more heavy volume." So we get in this league, and we're up like 50K in the first 4 weeks. And my friend says to me, I remember, it's funny, you remember exactly where we were for these conversations, and he says, "Listen, this is the best team I've ever had." And this kid does 1,000 best ball drafts a year. I've seen it.
Wow.
And he has sweats every year. He always has like a couple in each one for the million, where he's like 2 teams in a final 20. And then one year, you can look this one up, 2 years ago, probably it might have been the year before we did this league, or the year after. He had, I think it was the year before we did a Bitcoin league, because I brought him up to my country club to play golf, and he was telling me about it. He won like 200 grand in a best ball, coming in second place. And he lost by like 6 points because he had Jaden Reed.
Like a $25 buy-in too, right? One of those.
I would remember that one. I would remember, but he said that he had Jaden Reed put up like 20 at halftime against the Bears, and that he like hurt his leg. He's like, "If Jaden Reed doesn't break his leg, I win the million." And I'm like, "Wow, how are you not sickened?" And he goes, "Oh, I got lucky to get he put up 20 in the first half." So he's very objective because he's done so much volume.
Yeah.
So we wind up. he says it's the best team we ever had. He says, I will do 100K a week. He says, I will risk 100 grand on this team side bets a week versus anyone. And the team was loaded. We were just a little lacking depth. So we slammed against this one team. I feel like I could remember their name too. I didn't like these guys. It was a group of three, and I was always he was more in the shadows, and I was, me doing a negotiation with them for trades and for the side betting. So they were just little weasels, just on everything. And the other two teams I didn't really mind, winning or losing against them. The other two teams we crushed for the most part. And then towards the end of the season, we got cold the weeks 12, 13, 14, whatever it was, and we lost a lot back. And I think that year we probably won right around the 50K that we were up. But our team was loaded. So we get to the finals and we barely get the bye. And give me 1 second, 'cause I think I have to get my charger. Hold on. How do I? Oh, here it is. 1 second. Let me just see if I can plug it in. Give me 1 sec.
Oh no, yeah. One of my first podcasts, my laptop went dead. I'm just like, what the?
Yeah, hold on.
I'll never forget. I think I blamed the internet, but it was actually my laptop.
So listen to this. So we get the bye. So all we have to do is win the first round, and then we're guaranteed big money, right? And
I'm happy Buff's listening to this, by the way. He's listening as he's probably in the car with wifey running around doing something. But these are the Buff stories that he loves. So go on, go.
So, and I tell everybody else, when these people bullshit with when they bullshit about how much they bet. Mine, I have a very good memory, and mine, I sweat it very hard, so I have no issue recalling it. So we're in Orlando for that time, we usually are for the fantasy playoffs, and I think we did something big with the Magic the day before. Long story short, we have Jalen Hurts. We had traded for him, and it was a huge trade. I think it was Hurts and a chain for. We gave up Amron St. Brown and TJ Hawkinson. It's funny how I actually remember that trade. And everyone thought it was fair. And then the week after, our guys start crushing, and we were already a top team, and they were complaining. So it was the semifinals. I'm watching the Eagles play. I think it was the Niners. He goes, you can't make this up. And I know a lot of gamblers back me on this. Sometimes I feel like the players are out to get me, conspiring against me, doing stupid shit, right? He goes the first 3 plays of the game. Maybe not including when he handed it off to Barkley. He does three runs in a row and gets tackled. And I'm like, is this guy trying to get hurt? Sure enough, the third one, he gets concussed. He gets pulled from the game.
Wow.
And it was the 1 o'clock game. And I'm like, wow, what a killer, right? So I start immediately bitching to my friend. I'm like, this is insane. And I think my dad was taking a nap or on a call in his hotel room. But I couldn't wait to just tell him the biggest league I've ever done, this fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
So he sits, and then I just decide that I'm like, nah, we're still gonna win, and it winds up being a sweat come Sunday night, and the other team starts texting me to congratulate me, to jinx me.
Yeah,
so
of course.
I'm big in that. So I go,
great move, by the way. It's a great move to do that. I do it to my
yeah. So I
Good
start.
game. You got me.
I start texting him. I go, no, it's over. I go, this is embarrassing. I thought we were gonna win because we were favored.
Yeah.
But I said, listen, just do us a favor. Don't tell anyone you beat us, how embarrassing this is. I've never been the more anti-jinx, right? And then after the week, these guys are like, wow, you're a sicko. You're really big on the anti-jinx. I go, oh, yeah, I take this shit serious. We make it to the finals. I'm at Magic Kingdom. It must have been a Wednesday or Thursday because there was a big game. We had Zach Charbonnet for the Seahawks playing. And I remember my partner saying, wow, he's like, your namesake. I remember that exact text. He's like, your namesake, Charbonnet night is going to kill it for us. I haven't projected for huge. And I said, listen, we're playing for a lot of money. I said, I'm risk averse at a certain point. I try to explain people with edges, we're probably 54% to win that matchup. Just like I say, most of my bets, they're around 54, 56% win rate. So I said, one guy yesterday, oh, should I jam all in on whatever play? I said, listen, the more of my plays you bet, the better shot you have to win. And you still could lose. It happens. So I said to my partner, he was going to some Christmas party. He's like, hey, I'm going to be drunk in an hour. So I said, okay. I said, let me try to get this deal done. I said, if you're drunk, do I have your, consent to do a deal? He says, yeah, no problem. He says, but this is the worst deal I would take. And I think it's so long ago. I think it was we offered him, I think a 1.2 chop on some of the money and a play for the rest. And they had CeeDee Lamb, who got ruled out for the year. We had Hurts, who was now questionable because of the concussion. Yeah. I didn't think he was going to play. It just made no sense. And my partner was very confident he was going to play. I'm like, I don't see that one. So I remember walking by It's a Small World and saying, like, listen, this is the last text I'm sending. I'm at a park. I don't give a fuck. Take it or leave it. And they agreed to the chop. So I think it was we were going to play for the 2 Bitcoin and shop the rest at a 1.2. Yeah, I'll answer that one question. Yeah. Give me 1 second. I'll answer that in a second. We wound up, long story short, we wound up doing the chop. I think it was like 1.15 to 0.85, whatever it was for like the 6 Bitcoin. And then we played for the rest. And they had, the irony was when we did the draft, we had 9th pick and the 8th team, which I think was them, was on the clock. And it was Jefferson and Ja'Marr Chase were still out there, which we were going to take 1 or 2. And I remember him asking me, hey, which one do you prefer? And I said, listen, like, you're the GOAT. I'm going to go with you. He's like, no, it's a coin flip. So I said, I prefer Jefferson. He plays indoors with the dome. I don't want to have to worry about bad weather. And I said, it's not going to matter. The guy's going to take 1 or 2. And the guy took Chase, and we took Jefferson. And then in the finals, we played that team. So they played a Saturday game against the Broncos. And they did nothing the whole game, nothing. We were in great shape. And the end of the third quarter, the fourth quarter, I think he might have had, you know what? I might have misspoke. He might have had Higgins. He had 1 of the 2 with Joe Burrow. He had the stack. Yeah. Whoever it was, I think it was Higgins. They scored 3 touchdowns. He throws 3 all to Higgins in the last 15 minutes of the game. It goes overtime. They get a 2-point. They put up 60 with those 2, and we wound up. We were like 20%. We actually wound up losing by 8 points. Where if Laporta would have put up like another touchdown that Monday night, we would have won. But we lost, and I remember we were half sad that we lost, but also half excited. We're like, wow, we made a great chop. We got a premium, and we lost, etc.
Yeah, and when you chop, you almost start rooting against yourself a little bit, right? I mean, it's
correct, exactly. No, you're 100. And I said to my dad, even though you make more money, it's just a psychological thing. I've had that in bets too.
No, for sure. Yeah.
I had bets years ago where I got sent a play for the under in the New York Giants football game, and I wound up I didn't like the news I got late, so I cashed out for like break even on whatever site I was on. I was able to cash out, and I had like 12K on each, 12K first half, 12K game, and I remember like I think I had like 35 before, and I remember I was kind of rooting against the bet. Because I'm like, oh, if it wins, I would have won 70 grand. You know what I'm saying? But it's so stupid because like, so you'd rather lose 24 grand. It's just dumb.
Want to take your profit, but it's just like a mental, right?
So getting back to the guy who just asked the question, the WorldWideZackk subscription chat has pretty much all the bets that I make. There's a couple here or there that if it's live in the middle of a tennis match or a baseball game in the middle of it, obviously I can't send those out. And the biggest bet in the building is a smaller selection of just higher ROI plays. Every bet I send in WorldWideZackk subscription chat has an edge. And because I really do believe in my brand, the integrity and transparency, and I care about people winning, the biggest bet in the building chat when I started it, the first 4 days I did 1 bet, which is what I promised, and they all had 1. It was like 4-0. And then there was a couple days where there was just some monster bets, like more than 1. And I just felt, I'm not obligated, but I felt, to practice what I preach, and I felt remiss if I didn't post these bets in the chat because I'm like, 1 might win, 1 might lose, and then I posted 2, then 3, and 4, and then now I've posted, I posted as many probably as like 20 in that chat. The volume's gonna go down because like I try to explain to people, we had playoffs, so we had 16 NHL, 16 NBA teams, all the baseball, all the tennis. So in those, the volume's gonna come way down because now it's the conference finals in both leagues, right? And I'm not just going to put out a ton of bets to do volume. It's there just to win. And people don't realize when I was doing a ton of picks, it was to flatten out the variance curve. Because like Roger Federer says, it's a perfect analogy. Roger Federer's top 3 tennis player all time. And I think he said he won like 55% of the points he played in his career. But so that means at any point he could easily lose. But you look at his career, he was so dominant, 55% times all the games, times all the points, times all the sets, times all the matches. You're just not beating him, right? So the point is that when I plug in, because I do a lot of the math through ChatGPT just to see how my chat's doing. This win rate, I think it'll probably go down a little bit because we've done exceptionally well. But I think if you bet 10 of my bets, you're probably close to 44% to lose. If you bet 100, ChatGPT will tell you this better than me, you're less than 44% to lose, and vice versa and vice versa. And then like I tell anybody, like my next 1,000 plays could lose. If the next 1,000 plays, if the chat's a loser, there's no spinning on that. It's a ton of volume, 1,000 plays. There's no spinning. Yesterday we had a bunch of stacked in a couple of baseball games. I think we did bad early, and then later we did good. But when I model a game to do pitching props, etc., so the percentages, you can't hide from that in the long run. So I will say that,
real, right? Like, and guys, you put the promo code in with WorldWideZackk, we get a little kickback, no big deal there. But you've set up your life where your life is revolved around sports betting, and you live a great life because of that, right? You have all these stories.
We've always been big into sports analytics, sports marketing, because my dad huge memorabilia.
And you're doing the legwork for people that don't have the time to do that, right? And
they're not gonna. I say this to everyone. I always say, if you're gonna talk the talk, you got to walk the walk, and vice versa. And my thing is, my favorite athlete of all time is Tim Duncan, and I always loved that he never talked. To me, what made it so special was I'm very extroverted and brazen, whatever word you want to use, boisterous, and he's very introverted. Now, people are going to say, well, he's also one of the most successful guys ever. He's made millions, champion, etc. Yeah. But I don't go, oh, he's not my personality. He's my favorite athlete. And I advocate for anybody, including myself. I think it's best to walk the walk first and then talk the talk, so there's no pressure. But when you're promoting, doing marketing, it's a little different. I also believe strongly in my skill. And I think that, when I launched this, I said what I thought the win rates would be, and they're pretty much right there, a little bit better. And I still tell people, hey, I'm going to under-promise, over-deliver. I'm not going to guarantee wins. Just not going to do it like everybody else does, because you could go cold, and, people are like, oh, what sports? I don't really analyze the sports, how each bet does, because I don't really do prop bets because I can't get money on them. Like, it's $500 a click.
Yeah, the max bets. What about on Hard Rock now? What's the max bet on a prop bet?
They gave me like $500. Yeah. What's funny is I never really bet props there because it's not worth it. But I'm like, you know what? I want my chat to win so much. And I think I have in the one chat 193 subscribers, the other one 101, plus the people I work with off screen and off grid. But I do props now for one reason only. Not for me to get my $500. I could care less. I do it because most of the people in my chat, they're $100 bettors, $1,000 bettors, $100 bettors. They're able to get a full unit on the props, and I do it just for them. But now they've done so well that I'll bet them for the $500 because I'm like, hey, I want the free money. Like, they're gonna win.
And also, isn't there something to say, like, where if a guy, if you really like something and you post it, then if I want to put action on it, I could juice it up better in my favor, right? So, like, I remember, like, one of my favorite plays of all time, right before the podcast started. So it was a Super Bowl, Eagles Chiefs, and I loved Saquon Barkley over 13.5 receiving yards, right? I go, it's a Super Bowl. Saquon Barkley's numbers really low receiving yards wise because they don't throw him the ball a lot. But Jalen throws Saquon the ball in the Super Bowl, right? Because they're putting all hands on deck. So I told people, take over 39 or over 36 or whatever it was, right? Instead of, it was like 6-1 instead of, minus 110. So isn't there a way where, like, you can almost tell your guys, hey, we love it this much where we're not going to take Wembanyama over 10 rebounds. We're going to take him over 18 rebounds. And then
and that's why a lot of sites don't offer that, and they juice like crazy because they understand it's called variable change, and it's a great concept that I use, and it's a great scene in the movie 21 Blackjack movie where he says, I forget the name of the show, the Monty Smith problem, whatever, but he says, guys on the game show. By the way, I didn't understand at first either. I remember being in college asking my calculus professor at FU. I said, "Well, I don't even like. Obviously, what he's saying has to be true. He's at Harvard, but like, explain the math. There's 3 doors in the game show, and the guy says, okay, one of them has, I forget what the guy was going to win. Let's say $1 million. The other 2 have a donkey. So the guy picks door number, let's just say like 3. That's what he guesses, and then the game show host, obviously, even if you pick the wrong door, the right door, one of the other ones has a donkey for sure. So the game show host, to tease him, he shows one of the other doors. He says, here's a donkey in door 2. And the math will show it's correct to change your pick because the variable change. The variables when you made your pick you were 1 and 3 to pick the winner. But now that you lock your pick in and he removes your pick and he removes a door, now there's only 2 variables left. So when you, and it's like advanced math, but when you switch your pick, you will have a higher percent to get it right if you switch to door 1 now. Even if your heart tells you door 3, mathematically speaking. And I remember I looked up a million times, it's so confusing. I don't know if it's 67% because it seems like it'd be 50-50, but the math just changes. You do all the outcomes and it shows you that you will get a higher percent. But variable change is huge. And what you said with the alternate lines with tennis, when people are down 2-0. And I do a lot of that in baseball. There was one, I sent a lot of live bets the other day. The Giants were beating up on the Dodgers, and they were up like, I want to say they were up 4-3 in like the top of the 8th. And I was watching it with Pimo at the sports bar. And I wanted to send, again, this is one of the bets I couldn't send because it was in the middle of the inning, but it was 4-3, 2 outs, bases loaded. And I said, okay, I don't like the -1.5 because I think it's so unlikely they're going to get a walk here and get 1 run. I think it's feast or famine. And they were getting odds like +200, whatever. I said, I like the -2.5, like +375, because if they get the single, it's 2 runs in. Now you're up to 3.
Yeah.
And they're bringing in their best pitcher to close out the game. And sure enough, they got the single with 2 strikes. I didn't even get the bet myself. But it's the variable change where I'm like, I don't like the -1.5 because I'm like, for you to cover that, not the other one, you got to get a walk or a hit, no one else score, and then not hold any more runs where they score, right? So
it wasn't going to be a 1-run situation. It's going to be 0 or 2.
Yes, and then I went through a huge period. Just to give you another one with hockey right before All-Star break. I was doing a lot of unders also, and we went through a rough patch for like a week, and I was, paying attention to all the games. I said, man, they're just pulling the goalie so early. It's obnoxious. 3 goals, whatever. So I'm like, man, I don't really let the closing line value I was getting, under 6.5. It's closing at 6 with like a little less juice, which to me, like if I'm getting under 6.5 -110 and it's closing 6 -105 or 6 even, I love that because a lot of the games are ending 5-1, 4-2, etc. Right? So I said, okay, I'm going to watch a lot after the All-Star break because I think the scoring is going to come down. I think it's going to regress, and I think that the teams are going to start playing a little more seriously with playoffs, on the horizon.
Yeah.
So when the playoffs, towards the end of the season, we did better with it. And then when the playoffs started, I just knew that Vegas and a lot of hockey models weren't loving number 6 because like, oh, anytime the game gets tied, and when it's tied, it usually is tied 2-2 where 6 didn't matter, or 3-3 where you auto lose.
Yeah.
But I was very confident in my model that the 6 was a key number in the playoffs, and the 6 has been a massive number. Just like I modeled for the season, now there's been a couple games where I sent to my chat, I sent the alternate line under 6.5 or 6, because a lot of sites like Hard Rock only offer half goals, 6.5, 5.5.
Right, yeah.
So there was 2 massive games where I sent like the 6.5 instead of 5.5, and it seemed where the 5.5 got juiced more, and both it landed on 6. The 5.5 got bad beated where my chat won instead of losing. And I think even yesterday's game, I sent under 6.5 and I live bet the 5.5 because I just knew in those types of games, no one wants to, whether it's game 7, game 1, no one wants to lose a game in hockey from the defensive end. So they're playing the defense first, which when you play defense first, it's shutting down a lot of the lanes and the scoring opportunities, and you're looking to score on a counter, right? Or a one-timer, etc. Power play. So it's so tough to get that goal. So I was and then I sent, I think even in my chat for the game to go to overtime. But the variable changes, the 6.5, I sent out under 6.5 -165 in last night's game. And it closed 5.5, like +102, even money. I didn't like that line. I just felt that the team that would take the lead late, it'd be very tough for them to get to the 7 goals. They'd have to score like 2 empty netters. And I'm like, if you beat me laying 60 cents more juice, take my money. And it wound up going to overtime like I thought the game would play out. But that is the change where the teams are just playing. The defense is just way different. And when you look at the NBA playoffs and Major League Baseball playoffs, and I always advocate for this, NBA playoffs, the rotations get shorter, right? Because you're playing your stars more. And like you said earlier, with the Spurs,
OKC,
right? No, you made a perfect point with that. And I looked at it when you mentioned it. I think OKC's bench is very deep. Like those guys are all great players.
They got McCain for free when it comes to, they got a 1st-round pick, but for what he is.
Yeah, 100%. And the Spurs bench, obviously not in love with it, but I'm in love with their core. And when you get to the playoffs, the game slows down. You'll see Vegas changes, the over-unders are way lower. And then you have teams playing, you're playing a best of 7, so you have footage on these teams. It's not night to night in NBA. Are you there? Because it froze. Wait, I think. TJ, are you there? Hold on. Let's see. Let me call.
Hey, can you keep it going for 1 second?
Yeah, it shows that you froze.
Yeah, I'm froze. Keep going. I'll be right back.
Am I still on?
I think so. Hold on. Let me see. Hold on.
I'll just keep you. Oh, yeah, I'll just talk to the.
I guess you can't tell because hold on. Motherfucker. I think my laptop went dead, but it usually notifies me.
Yeah, it shows me as the only person. Yeah.
Okay, hold on. I'm actually gonna be able to pull it.
I'll just keep talking to the people that are watching, but
Yeah, keep talking. I'll be right. I'm literally gonna probably be back in about 10 seconds. Keep talking.
All right. So I personally think the defensive schemes change in playoffs and everything, just from the game theory standpoint, which I do a lot in my analytics. In the NBA, not only are you getting shorter rotations, but teams are now game planning for a whole series. So they have footage to watch versus on back-to-backs regular season. Guys like James Harden, who's notorious for, going to strip clubs and partying. A guy had a model for him when James Harden would play. Can you hear me now, TJ?
Oh, yeah, we're good. We're good. That was crazy. My laptop's not even dead, but it updated or something. I always, when it says updates available on the right, I just always close it down. I guess sooner or later they're going to make you update. But go on. What are you saying? Yeah.
So there was a guy a couple years ago. He had a James Harden model. I think he's nuts for leaking this, but he showed the data when James Harden played in cities with strip clubs. His performance went to the toilet. And when
is that a real thing? I heard rumors.
Oh, yeah.
I always thought it was bullshit.
Oh,
I knew the Harden thing, but that is a real number.
I mean, I never fact checked per se, but I do know that the guy showed his performance. I don't want to say, I don't know if it was Toronto or Utah, but I want to say maybe like Toronto had good strip clubs and he did shitty there, and then Utah had nothing and he did really good there because it's a Mormon city.
Yeah.
But things like that where you have now, guys who are playing back-to-backs going out. I heard stuff that Draymond Green a couple years ago with the Heat, was partying hard when they came to Miami. So now in the playoffs, these guys aren't doing that. They're watching all the footage. They're really game planning, right? And they're going after matchups. They're going when LeBron was in 2015 or 16 against, I forget which one, against the Cavs, they were really going at Kevin Love. They couldn't play him anymore. And then the same with Steph. They were really going at him hard, right? So I think the Spurs are going to go at Caruso very hard when he's on him. And they're just going to ISO everything and drop him in the low post and just abuse him, right? Because once Caruso is great at denying the ball and when you're putting it on the floor. But when Wemby catches on the low block, it's barbecue chicken. You're done.
Did you see what Wembanyama did late in the game? He actually deked Caruso, and Wembanyama was working so hard without the ball. It was fun to watch. You know what I mean? It was just he was actually not just standing there and just post. It was he was actually doing moves on Caruso, and obviously Caruso couldn't keep. I mean, Caruso did his best he could, and
also, no, it's not a fair fight. Come on, you're guarding the sickest guy ever. It's just not fair.
And Caruso knows it's not fair, but the whole point is,
he's up for the shot. No, listen,
and they almost did it, right? It almost won, and if they did win, that would be the topic. It wouldn't be Caruso's points, which is a career high in playoffs. I'm assuming.
Yeah.
I know it's a career high. I have to fact check that.
He shot 60% from 3, 8 of 13. But by the way, he's the reason they beat the Nuggets last year, in my opinion. But I was going to say is, people don't realize is how much these game plans get changed in the playoffs. And just like in tennis, I want to mention her a little bit later, but my favorite athlete currently, and she's making a run up the ladders for my favorite athletes are always going to be on my teams, the Spurs, the Panthers, the Dolphins, the Hurricanes, etc., the Astros. But, growing up, the first team I was obsessed with in 1993 was the Spurs. So it's always going to be David Robinson, Tim Duncan, Kawhi Leonard, Tony Parker, Ginobili, now Wembanyama. But my favorite athlete now is a female. She's 24. She's American, based out of Miami, Amanda Anisimova. I have a lot of followers who back her. We call her the Amanda Show. And
that's cool. That's cool.
I look forward to trying to have her on my podcast to really advocate for Nike and the women's sports, etc. But even with her, I do a lot of the analytics, and I'll message it to her and her coach. Now she's a new coach, but I'm not scared to fail, so I'll do a lot of radical stuff with my numbers. And she's been struggling against Jess Pagula, who I also love, another American player. Her parents own the Bills, and she struggled. I think she's like 0-5 against her. I'm not worried about that at all. And I'm Amanda's biggest fan. You know, that includes her family and close people. I don't have the ego, but like I live for Amanda to play. So I will spend hours on her stuff.
Yeah, our producer Rob's a big tennis fan. He knows exactly who she is. So
yeah, I mean, I would legitimately I would fight a polar bear for Amanda. That's how serious I am about Amanda. I just love her personality, her character, what she does for girls and guys too. I think a lot of the young boys look up to her too. I think she's amazing for tennis, women's tennis, etc. And I like what Andy Murray says, you know, whenever they try to do these trap questions, the female players, I'm like, nah, the females are equal to the men. There's no need to say, she's my favorite athlete, men or women. She's my favorite athlete right now. Yeah. And the reason why I mention that is I see a couple things in the data and game plan, her against the girls that she struggled against. She struggled against Pagula a lot. She struggled against Svitolina and Rybakina. So I'm not, just to give you an example of how it relates to NBA playoffs, I'm not going to send out an info or post for random tournaments because I want Amanda to win a Grand Slam badly. So she will eventually, whether it's the French Open, Wimbledon, US Open, she will be deep in one, have a real shot to win. Health, what do you call it? Assuming because she's been hurt with her wrist recently. But I'm not going to leak it for Indian Wells or something. Not because I don't want her to win, because I don't want that team to see adjustments, whether she listens to me or not, or they see it, whatever. And I think it's the same thing with all the sports. Some teams play it closer to the vest, right? And my dad was talking yesterday with Darren Fox. I'm not releasing if I'm a GM that my guy's hurt. I'm doing the same thing the Spurs are doing. It doesn't matter hurt my bet or whatever, and the closeline value. Like,
I've always been surprised. I mean, I'm not, as a coach, I wouldn't be a cheater, but I would give information as late as possible, right?
As late as possible.
And we all know that any kind of information, you never know how it could benefit. Something about basketball that's like driving me nuts lately too, which I think this is why SGA and Wembanyama and Anthony Edwards are so great, is that when you get double teamed and you have to get rid of the ball usually. You're allowed to move after you pass, right? Like it drives me crazy. Harden is like one of those guys where they trap him. He passes it, sits there. He's dead. He's dead. And in the playoffs,
you're 100%. I can't stand Harden for a couple of reasons. I think he plays the game the wrong way. He ruined it with the kicking and the 4-point play, and also I just think he's got a bad attitude. And I'm not going to compare my work ethic to Kobe Bryant's. Obviously, my dad would laugh at that. I'm not. Yeah, but I'm just as competitive as Kobe. But at the end of the day, I could say I'm just as competitive as Kobe, but look at the stage and success he has compared to mine. So how can you make that argument? Two, Kobe's in the gym at 4 a.m. Exactly. I'm not waking up at 4 a.m. I want to win bad, but I'm just saying there's levels to it, and you got to know your place in the totem pole. And with James Harden I don't think Kobe would do well with a guy like that. I think a lot of players, wouldn't. I always believed in Harden on the Rockets, but it's too many years, too many failures. And like I say with, Kevin Durant, who I don't like Kevin Durant personally. He's a great player, so I can hold that aside. I do think he's better than Westbrook in his prime, but I like Westbrook way more because I know if I'm going to war with Westbrook, he wears it on his sleeve and he brings intensity every single night, right? And Durant's too much with the political side and the dramatics or the theatrics of he's out of here with Draymond Green and he's like, okay, you're out of there, but you only won because you went to Golden State, and that was the softest and weakest move I've ever seen in sports history.
Oh, it was. And I literally was talking. Yeah, we talked about it yesterday. It was one of the you lost. You were up 3-2. You lost. That's well documented.
3-1.
Okay, 3-1.
Even
and
worse.
Then you went to a 70-win team to win it.
That beat you. And now you won 2 in a row. You lost the third year. And in my mind, I think Toronto would beat him anyways, even if he and Clay didn't get hurt, but whatever. But the point is, now you're blaming Draymond. And I know Draymond's got the feud with Austin Reeves recently, but these are the facts. Everyone knows Draymond's better playing Austin Reeves. He'll tell you that. Yeah. The same reason I just told you with Kobe with the work. You can't – it's night and day. But if I was on a Kobe Bryant's team, obviously I can never play in the NBA, I would be willing to do whatever Kobe want because I want to win that bet. So I'd be up early with Kobe doing whatever, eating, dieting, etc. But you knew what Draymond Green was when you went there. He's had issues for years. And Draymond's come out and he said, "Oh, I don't want to be known as an angry player." And I said, "Draymond, I got news for you. That's what you're known as because you're the most ridiculous guy. You're throwing UFC back fist to Rudy Gobert's face. You're doing all this crazy shit. And he should be known as he's a great player. Defense and offense.
And also, there's a reason why Steph Curry has had a majority of his career pretty healthy. It's because nobody bangs on Steph Curry or you're going to deal with Draymond Green, right?
Oh,
Draymond Green was his Hector. And I know that like game by game, but overall, you did not knock down Steph Curry or you were going to get punched in the mouth by Draymond Green. Not a fist punch, but you knew you were going to get an elbow in the kidney on the next possession. Right?
Oh, and that's what I'm saying. Listen, I respect him. By the way, it's not whether I like him or not like him. I just feel like I like the players to be known for their play on the court, right? Let their play do the talking. And he's just had too many of those, too many incidents. And even like with Wemby, I wasn't thrilled with him elbowing the guy getting ejected. But I will say that with Durant, I'm like, okay, you went to a team, a 73-win team, the best team ever by record. I personally think they got cheated that year by the NBA. The NBA didn't suspend Draymond when the Warriors were down 3-1 against OKC, when OKC had him on the ropes. I do think OKC, they choked that series, but in
are you 100% it was 3-1? It was 3-1.
Yes, I had a lot of money on those series, yes. My brother had a ton. Next time you see my brother, he'll be very salty on that one. Yeah, that one he had OKC huge in that series. But what people don't realize is, okay, they still blew. Yeah, they had game 6 and 7 to lose, but Golden State was a once in a lifetime team. So like that was your shot. Just like with the Spurs, like if you lose last night, the Spurs aren't winning that series. Whether they win or lose, still you're not winning if you lose that game. It's demoralizing. They're a great team, OKC. We already said high median, high ceiling, high floor, and the Spurs are high ceiling, low floor. It's just how it is, right? So I think that when you go back to that series, I think the NBA. What do you want to say? Cheated? People say rigged. I think skewed it. Very corrupt. I think that Draymond should have been suspended for that game 5 when he kicked the guy in the balls or spit on him. I forget which one he did. That was bullshit. You let him play. They won that game. I think OKC would have won that game. And then it changed the landscape of the NBA forever after that. Like when you look at an event like September 11th, it changed the country and society forever, right? How we flew, how we did TSA. So if they suspend Draymond Green, I feel very confidently that OKC wins that series. And then who wins that finals? I think probably LeBron because he was playing so insane against Golden State. I got to think he gets the job done. But that's irrelevant. It means Durant is not on the Warriors. And then does Durant then go to the Nets? And then does he then go to the Suns? And is he now on the Rockets?
It's been a very weird journey for one of the greatest players of all time. Zach, so keep in mind, I'm like new at the podcasting too. We should have done this early on, but how do people get to you? How do they subscribe? How do they?
The big company I'm working with now is Winnable. And let's see, I'll pull
WINIBLE.
Yeah. And the link is in my bio on my Instagram and my Twitter.
All right. So once you got, I'm assuming a lot of our people already went there because they're already asking questions about
it. My Instagram is WorldWideZackk, ZACKK. There's been a lot of fakers, and even people in my chat, my friends, I get the email, "Oh, is this guy you?" I don't know who it is. I wish the guy, goes to jail for life, but because he's trying to make money off my name and scam people. But there is only one account of mine, and when they show me the screenshots, it's a guy with like 1 follower. I'm like, clearly it's a scam. And then I actually messaged him, one of my friends, German, who's big with me for years. He was like, "Oh, the guy's, he sent me this link," and then like he showed me, and I said, "German, I'm like, you have my phone number. Why would you? Come on, you gotta think something, right?" And then you think I'm joking? I'm at the sports book at Hard Rock the other day, and one of my friends comes up to me. He says, I told him, I said, "Man, you were texting me some shady shit," and he says, "I don't understand. You kept trying to get me subscribed," and he shows me the scammer was messaging him. I'm like, "You follow me on Instagram. You have my phone number. How would you?" And he's like, "Oh, I don't get it." I'm like, the guy's got 12 followers. You got to use. Why would I promote on something with 12 followers if I have 3,000 on my own? It doesn't make any sense.
So let me ask you this, right? So like on, let's say, a Sunday football day, you go to the Hard Rock at noon, or are you doing that later?
No, Sundays I'm pretty busy with the fantasy and the gambling, so that I usually watch at my dad's house or my parents' house.
Gotcha.
And I do dinner with them because I'm so busy. I'm very big in the family, so I try to fit in certain days to hang out with them.
How do you place a $200,000 wager? Like, do they already have the money in a? Is it a wire thing, or does it just an account you build up with? You're good for it.
No, it's online, whether it's crypto or bank wire, and I know the limits beforehand.
You're not walking up to the desk and placing that bet.
No, and Hard Rock, I think I can only bet 30 or 20K. I'm on system limits, which is a brag and not a brag. But Hard Rock's my home casino. I'm going to be doing, as I told you before, I'm going to be launching my own podcast there.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
A big cast. I don't want to say all the names or any of the names because I have to keep things close to the vest until everything's signed and finalized. But I have a female co-host and an ESPN College Game Day co-host. I love both. Great people. Very excited to work with them, have them on. And we're trying to get, something for the summer, whether it's going to be a UFC event to lead us into the NFL season. But with Hard Rock, some of the bets it's 500 max, some it's 1,000, some it's 2,000, some it's 10K, 20K. I think the max is like 30K is what I'll be able to bet on NFL. But I try not to light them up there because I do a lot of content there. I'm treated amazing there, and I don't want to beat them for a lot. I want to beat the other sports books. Hard Rock's my home. I'm X-Card. They get me into the Plum Lounge, the owners of their nightclub, where the podcast is going to be.
And not to put some of your family's business out there, but there's some people in your family that are not allowed to play cards in casinos because they just annihilate them, right?
Correct. Yeah.
On a legal fair basis.
Yes. Yeah. Everything I do, is legal, and that's why it took so long. Everyone was asking for over a year to buy my picks, but I had to make sure LLC all the stuff, and I really, very thorough about it because I believe in what I do. But it's going to be at their nightclub at Hard Rock on the rooftop. It's going to be most likely Thursday nights throughout the NFL season. So everyone's, welcome to come. It's going to have the food, the alcohol. The owners from Greg, Lewis, the VP, Alex, they've been huge supporters of WorldWideZackk from day one. So owe a lot to those guys. They've really been strong advocates and excited to have, a lot of interactive stuff with the athletes, Q&As, hot dog eating contests, super shots. One thing that they really love that I want to do is each week throughout the NFL season, my brother, as you know, is amazing at Super Shot. So I'm going to give people a shot to win money, beating him in Super Shot. It's tough. Yeah. And we're going to have, random raffles to who, let's say 5 people play him a week. And then my thing is, we got to make sure it's all okay with compliance, but to have $500, let's say for week 1, the 5 people, if you beat him, you get 500. If he stonewalls all 5, like Stump the Schwab, doubles week 2. So I'm hoping that it gets to like a week 8 where it's 5,000. We got people coming down from Orlando, Tampa, Wisconsin to try and beat him. But even if you're better than him or you're sharp, you still got to get picked. We got to make it fair for everyone to get a shot to do it. So, that's going to be exciting. And then hopefully we got to do some mobile podcasts, whether it's for the Miami FSU game, maybe a big game in Tampa. Come see you guys, But
no, that'd be great. So is it going to be I don't know how much you could divulge, but it's going to be like a Hard Rock Podcast Network, or is that too early to say?
Yeah, it's too early to say. That's where it's going to be. Everything's, being finalized this week. I got the director producer. He's very big in Hollywood. He's been nominated for some Academy Awards. I don't want to say his name yet either because I got to meet with him this week. But once everything's signed up, I'll come back on the show and be able to announce it.
That's awesome.
The other thing I want to say that I think, your fan base, my fan base would love is I don't feel optimistic this is going to happen. But before COVID, I played in a huge poker game that I'm no longer allowed to play in. My personal reason is because I'm a great player. And I've been very vocal over the years that I'm strong in my poker game. And I've never used the models like all these other, solvers like all these other players do, because I don't need to. And I could do better than the solvers because I understand certain things that the solvers can't tell you why, and I could tell you why. And it's the same thing.
And also, like, they use a hub on No Limit Hold'em. I get it if you're 20 tabling it on a computer.
Right.
My whole life, but No Limit Hold'em is pretty basic math. It's pretty basic math. I never understood why people need a hub when it comes to certain things, but go
on. So I used to play in this one guy's game. His name's Eric. I'll say his first name. And we were in a huge basketball league before COVID. Very competitive. And I always beat his team. And
fantasy basketball?
No, real basketball. real
Okay.
basketball.
Okay.
And
Okay.
my team, I had a very good team. We went back-to-back championships. And unlike everybody else who's the captain of their team, I don't have the ego. I don't say, oh, I'm the best. My team had some great players. I'm an average player on my best day, right?
Yeah.
So, but just like the guys in my chat, they know I'm very transparent. So on my team, just because I started, I don't think I'm Kobe Bryant out there. And this guy, Eric, is a good basketball player, but he's delusional with his abilities. So we've done a ton of prop bets, big, before I ever did content. And I beat him pretty much every single one. I actually don't know if I think the only bet he's ever beat me in was, like I said, I'm the world's biggest Spurs fan. I went to every Spurs game in the playoffs from 2012, 2013. Only reason why I didn't go before, I didn't have the money. And I remember discussing with my dad in high school. The Spurs had a big game 7. I wanted to go to it, and he's like, "Yeah." He goes, "I can't send you. You got to have the value of money. You got to make your own money." And it taught
you
me.
did it right in your dad's voice too. That was pretty impressive right there. I thought I was talking to Marty. You did it right with your dad's voice inflection. I thought I heard Marty in the background talking, but it was your lips moving.
So I wound up going to all those games with him, and then 2013 we brought more people with us when they played the Heat. But long story short, we left game 4. The Spurs. I'm pretty sure the Spurs. One of the games, the Spurs either routed him or got routed, and Tracy McGrady played. I didn't know it because we left early to beat the traffic. And I made a bet with this guy that Tracy McGrady didn't play, and he won that bet. And that was the only bet he beat me. And the rest, whether it was sports or in-person basketball, I beat him. So we were very close to, before COVID, $100,000 bet. He gets, and this one, I think the content will be crazy because I have a couple of videographers, guys that work for the Nelk boys that have done my golf content that I'm going to have do it because it's going to be around the clock. The bet was he gets 1 month, unlimited opportunities to make 100 free throws in a row. And we narrowed it down to an 8-hour window. I think Ricky loved this bet.
8-hour window every day
for a month to make 100 free throws. And my dad, by the way, my dad's very, people get confused. My parents are very anti-gambling. Like he'll play poker small. And one thing I've learned from my dad and other successful people, because I have some very wealthy friends, prominent, powerful guys. They don't have the ego. They never brag about their money. And when they gamble small because they don't need the money. They don't care.
Exactly. Yeah.
So for me, if there's a day where I'm low on cash, whatever, and I tell people, I said, listen, never let anyone influence you. You got to bet big, whatever. There's times I told you at Hard Rock, I bet 500. That's the max on the game. Or I only have 2,000 cash on me because it's all in chips.
Yeah.
But I will say that my dad wants to bet massive on this bet. And he said he'll bet 100,000. I believe him. So it was a 100K bet then. And Eric was trying to bullshit. And they all try to bullshit. I said, listen, if I talk it, I will put up the money or I won't waste your time.
Yeah.
So the bet was 100K. He gets 1 month, 8 hours a day. I had one of the books I was working with then. The guy cut me because I won too much. His runner was going to, I don't know what we were going to pay him. He was going to watch him all 8 hours a day and film it live. So we had proof. We weren't doing it for content, just for the bet. And then Eric was like, oh, this is why I tell people, I don't let people just bullshit me anymore. And Eric told me, he acted like I was going to lose in his game. I won big in his game, and now I'm no longer invited to his game. And that's a fact. And his game, I think, is at Hialeah Gardens or Harris Casino in Pompano Beach. But I only play poker at Hard Rock. Hard Rock's my casino. I think they're a great casino. And I know there's people out there who talk about them positive and negative. And I will say this. I've bet hundreds of thousands there. I think last year I probably put through $3 million in sports bets with having a 30K cap. One of my friends works at their sportsbook, Mitch. I think Mitch is amazing. I think he's undervalued, underpaid there.
So I think what Jeff's asked is, can he do 20 in a row? Wait,
no. It's 100 in a row. He makes 99, he misses. It doesn't count.
What's the percentage of NBA players that you think can do that?
Well, I'm going to tell you because I do all the research. So we were close, and then the reason why I fell through was one.
All right. I wonder if we lost him too really quick. We'll keep it going. I think that before he even says he did the research, obviously you have guys like Steph, Clay.
Am I back?
Okay, you're back. All right, let's go. So what? We got to wrap this up too because we're hitting the 2-hour mark. But
yeah, so
what's the percentage? Go.
So it wound up not happening because he's like, oh, I want to be able to just wake up at 3 a.m. and shoot free throws. I go, buddy, we need a witness. You can't do that. Like, this guy's got to have a life who's watching. So I looked up this guy. I think he thinks he's a 92% shooter, and he thinks he's sneaky, and I think he's 90. I think he's 90 at best. I think he's delusional. It's proven that he's lost every bet against me. If you shoot 90, and this, again, gets back to what I tell people with modeling and solvers and poker, you can't just trust the computers because they don't understand the human element, right? When you are, if you're a 90% free throw shooter, you will make 100 in a row, 1 in 500 times. If you're a 95% shooter, you will make 100 in a row, 1 in 200 times. So we're again,
so none. Like, that's none. I mean, nobody in the NBA can do it. I don't think, right?
No, because guys like Steph Curry shoots 91% in games. In practice, he's probably a 98% shooter. So Steph Curry could probably do it in a day. I would, like, if you gave Steph Curry 8 hours, I would. If you told me Steph Curry has 8 hours tomorrow to make 100 in a row, I would probably pile like $500,000, and that would be one of the easiest bets ever made. Because what we don't realize is when he misses the first reset, misses the 10th reset, and Steph Curry isn't gonna be affected by the pressure. He's shot in the sickest games. He'll be affected by pressure in the NBA final. If you think Steph Curry, let's say, is 91%, if you think he's shooting 91% Game 7 tied game at the end, you're on crack. Also,
I see what you're saying there. So do you think 20 NBA players could do it? Or do you think there's actually, you're giving them a month, right? So 100 NBA players could do it? 200?
I got to see. No, it's got to be someone who shoots towards the 90s. Though, but remember, people don't realize the reason why their free throw percentage, because they said like Shaq and Dwight Howard could shoot like, or Dwight Howard could shoot like 76, 80% in practice. In the game, you've got a crowd, less focused. He's tired, but most importantly, these big men are getting whacked. So like their arms are throbbing. You and I would have a broken arm. We'd be in the emergency room.
Yeah.
We got fouled
Does he fetch his own ball after he makes it, or someone gives it to him?
Those were the things we were talking about. I think this is again 2020. He wanted a rebounder, which makes it easier because now, like, if you don't have a rebound, you got to go bend, pick it up, the fatigue. I don't think he could do it. I'm willing to lose 100,000. I spoke to the owners of there because we've had so many conferences. We've had some great meetings, on Fridays and Saturdays. Yeah, fatigue too. Great point. The main reason why I don't think he could do it, he doesn't understand this, is after the first couple of days, if he's going to shoot 8 hours a day, which he's not, there's no way. Let's just say he shoots 4 hours a day. Do you think by day 6, if he doesn't do it early, he's fucked. By day 6, 7, this guy's going to get rotator cuff tendon. You're shooting so much. Like when I go play golf, 18 holes, I'm beat up. So I just think he's going to sustain injury.
You're looking at least 500 shots a day. Yeah, that's true. There's a lot of stuff.
He's going to get blisters, calluses, and in the contract, because it's going to be a lot of money, it's going to be it's going to say like an injury, like if you can't do it in 30 days, you're out. And one of our mutual friends, my friend Dom, I played with him a couple weeks ago, and he texted him for me. I said, listen, I can get $400,000. The owner, Greg of Dare, said he will put up 100,000. I will put up 100,000. My dad will put up 100,000, and I don't know if it's my brother, whoever. I'll get that on easy. The reason why I said it is it's called flying over the radar. This guy tried a couple years ago during COVID. Oh yeah, 100K is not really worth my time. 200K maybe. Okay, well now I'll get 400,000. And I'll tell you this, I could get $1 million. And when I had the last meeting with the club for the podcast, I said, listen, I could probably get $1 million, and I could probably through Winnable, whatever, sell some of the action to my followers who want to get in. $10 bettors.
I'll give you $200. I can find 10 people. That's another $2,000, right?
And I'm gonna live stream it, and I'm gonna text Dom when I get off the show. Dom told me last week when I saw him. Dom's a great basketball player and a great poker player. Very modest guy. I've never beat Dom. He's been lucky against me, but Dom's also a better player than me, so it's twofold. But I said, Dom, hey, I know that Eric doesn't want me in his game, this and that. I said, but the content would be insane because I'll have the videographer live stream it and I'll sell some of the action. Listen, if I have 100K, I think I'm gonna win. But I'll sell 20 grand to my followers just to give them a sweat. Because he'll be shooting randomly at 4 o'clock on a Wednesday. People want to sweat it. And I think it'll blow up. So
it would be so entertaining. This is gonna open up a can of worms. We have to wrap this up or we're gonna hit the YouTube.
I'll just say this. I will come back on. I have more details, but I'm not optimistic that he's gonna do it. But I did tell I think Dom said he's getting dinner with him this Wednesday. And I said, Dom, if you could just ask again, he goes, yeah, no problem. I said, listen, tell him money's not an object. I could get $1 million. Or I'll do 100. With a lot of people, when they try to bullshit me and they hate my comments, I say, listen, I'll escrow 5K because they say, oh, you're only going to play for big stakes. I've played heads-up poker against the number one guys in the world. Doug Polk when he's number one. I played whatever. So if I say it, I'll do it. But I just want to get this thing done. I would do it for, if it was 50 grand, I'd do it and split it. but I do it for 400 grand. I think it'd be insane content, but obviously I look forward to coming back on the show. Had a blast.
Yeah, Zach, it was great having you on. Make sure you tell the family we said hi. And also, our last couple comments are from Jeff. He's actually the bridge. That's Jeff from Boathouse, Jeff Schneider. He's the one.
I know. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So that's kind of like the bridge right there. It comes full circle.
And
but hey,
I will say that let me just say one thing to any of my followers, TJ and Ricky, they're all like family to us. They treat us amazing. And one of my big things in advocates in life is just relationships, from my social media manager to my doctors, having close relationships with good people. Whenever we're in town, they get us in on a busy night, amazing service, great food. It's my brother's favorite restaurant. So and one of my favorite restaurants, I will say this, at Hard Rock Curro, a couple of their managers, they love Boathouse too. So I will say, if you get a chance and you're watching it in Orlando to go to Disney Springs, hit up TJ and my guys at Boathouse, and they will take good care of you. But yeah, I look forward to come. I'm hoping that, honestly, when the playoffs dies down, and it's less teams and the podcast is finalized, I'm probably going to take a short vacation up there just to get away from, because I've been generating so many plays, spending like 6, 7, 8 hours a day on it.
Yeah, so when you called me and said you were doing it, I don't know if you knew, but I didn't think it'd blow up this quick, to be honest with you. That's usually a slow growth, but it's your energy.
Yeah.
And your passion.
But people love my shit. It's very transparent and legit. And when I lose, one of my friends in the chat, he's very emotional with the wins and losses.
What's up, Julian?
So he posts all the time. I told him, I said, listen, like, I sent him all the posts of the last couple months of the big losses when I posted or like when the Rockets lost game 6. My chat took a huge loss, and I made a joke that I was hitchhiking because Kevin Durant broke me. But I don't shy away from the losses. I'm not going to delete slips.
Yeah.
We had a bad day a couple days ago in chat where I think we lost like 20 units, but a lot of these bets are correlated. My chat's up 130 units. I think after I do the accounting, it's going to be up 130 units for 2,400 bets over 70 days. But if I lose 1 million units, I'm not going to lie about it. I tell people I can't guarantee wins. I think we'll win. I feel confident, but yeah, no, I had a great time. Hopefully I'll be able to come back on again. Hopefully I'll be able to take a vacation and see you guys up there.
Yeah, man, let's get together, and we'll do this soon again, and let's keep the relationship building, buddy. All right, Zach, thanks for having us on, guys. Hey, have a great day.
No problem. Jeff, I'll see you soon.
Knicks in 5, baby. Knicks in 5. That's what I'm feeling right now.
By the way, I have a strong lean on the Cavs, but I do not like to bet against an organization that makes way more money when the Knicks win. So like, I'm gonna go to eat now with my brother lunch, and then I'll probably, because the last 2 days I posted free plays and have crushed, I'm superstitious, I will have one tonight. But we don't realize, only if there's an edge. I'm not just gonna post shit.
Yeah, throw a nugget out there. We'll post it on our stuff. I'm worried. Hey, we'll know early on if the Knicks come out rusty. We'll see. That's the big thing, right? I'd rather have rest over rust. Give me rest over rust. You know what I mean? I think the Knicks needed this rest. OG's healthy.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
Agree.
But
remember, they haven't been healthy. They haven't been healthy the last 2 years. And I will just say this one caveat: I don't want people to get misled. When I post a 100K or 200K bet, I love the bet. But like I told my chat this a couple weeks ago, my highest ROI plays are the ones I won't be able to get a lot on. Props or hockey team totals, hockey first periods, right? So, for example, I sent one. I love that. Thank you. I appreciate it. WorldWideZackk Nation, stand up. I will say, a couple weeks ago, I sent Jansen Junk, pitcher of the Marlins. It was the biggest play today. Under 1.5 walks, minus 130 or 160 against the Dodgers.
Jansen Junk, great pitcher name, by the way.
I mean, so I said to my chat, I said, listen, don't get confused. This is the play today, but my max bet on it is $500. And I said to him, I would bet 200 grand on this play if I could. So they all went nuts on the play, and the play won. Could have lost or won, whatever. So my point is, like, tonight, if I post whatever I like, it's going to be a main market bet. That's not going to be my highest ROI play. It's going to be a prop bet or first quarter total I will post in my chat. I might post the first quarter under, like I did a couple days ago with the Spurs that lost. Thankfully, Apple had my phone where I didn't get to post it. But the highest ROI plays are going to be the bets I can't really slam, which is why I suggest people get it in the chat. And if I could buy my own chat like 5-6 years ago, I would buy it in a second for what I'm charging. And I will say it'll probably be $1,000 a month to get in come football season. And once you're in for the cheaper price, you're locked in at that place. And 85% of the people who have subscribed have renewed. The 15% either had medical issues or finance issues. One kid lost for a day. A day pass you could easily lose. But the 85%, they're in there. They're very happy, and I would say that they will tell you it's the real deal.
I always thought it was interesting too. One of the first paid people that I ever did, he was He was great. It was one play a day. And I used to ask him, I wish you would tell us why you like the play. And he goes, no. And I'm like, why not? He goes, because if I win and I tell you why I liked it and it wins, but it's not how I scripted the game, people are going to talk shit that I got lucky that I won. Do you see what I'm trying to say? Like, when they're like, hey, I like the Bills because Josh Allen's going to throw for 400 yards and run for 50. But then the Bills win, but Josh Allen throws for 250, throws 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Then they're like, oh, you won, but you got lucky, right? So he said it's
100%.
very hard to win the game and guess the game script to a T. So I thought it was kind of funny because it made a lot of sense. And I'm like, that's why you don't give, you know what I mean? Like you give your picks, but to give the game script, you're literally that's like hitting, it's almost like hitting a lotto, right?
I'm very good at scripting the baseball games, but no, you're 100% right. And remember, it doesn't matter how you win the game. If you're getting plus 8.5 and you were down 30 and you hit a 3 down 9, or you hit a 3 down 11 with 2 seconds left and you lose by 8, it counts. And I try to preach that myself because it's a bad beat. It's a bad beat. There are the only bad beats in sports betting, and I'm the one who I got unlucky, is half court shot, Hail Mary. I lost one. I posted on my Instagram. I had a Hard Rock and I watched with my boy Mitch, who's like one of the heads of the sports book, and I'm a strong advocate for Mitch because he's helped me with the podcast and everything. Mitch is the man, and I've won 300K there. They snap paid me out, and vice versa. So, and when I go up to make live bets, the Hard Rock bet sportsbook, they get in very fast. Their guys, William, Joe, they're amazing. But the point is that I had one night because they'll let me bet like 20K on hockey total, so I had like 20K under 6.5, 20K under 5.5. Right? The game was 3-2. It's on my Instagram. Connor McDavid ties it with like 0.8 seconds left, so it's 3-3. So I lose both. It was like an 80K swing just there. But the point is, like, isn't it a bad beat? It's up for interpretation. But my logic is, when you make an over/under bet, they get 60 minutes to score as many goals. When you make an over/under bet baseball, they get 27 outs. So it's like, to me, unless it's like something crazy with a half-court shot or just something wild.
On that note, I agree with you. It's very important to take accountability, right? I love the Sam Darnold over 6.5 rushing yards, but also I do think the casinos were taking into account that he was going to win the game and he will. And what happened?
100%.
He had a 10-yard run pretty early on. I thought it hit, and then he actually didn't kneel, but he ran backwards and just slid, which is a very normal play, right? And he lost. And at first, I'm like, oh, well, I lost. But I'm like, that's why the total was so low, right? A little bit of unlucky. We're not going to say
100%.
that.
No, it's baked in. No. And I'll leave you with this, because I know your fans and my fans will love this. One tidbit, and I usually only discuss this with my VIP clients. One free piece of a secret recipe at WorldWideZackk does. On a lot of sites, mine, I win, so I get flagged, so it's tougher to do. But reverse pass posting. So last year for the Panthers Game 6 Stanley Cup, it was the closeout. I had a ton on them for the series, and I told you I had cashed out the game 2, like 50K. But for Game 6, I put another 20K on it just for superstition, because I'm like, I bet every game I go to, even though I have a ton, whatever. Yeah. But I put like 60 grand, 3 20K clicks on the under for that game. I forget what the total was. 3 20K clicks. And the line moves like 5 to 7 cents every click I bet it. But I bet it, and then when it clicks and it moves 7 cents, I'll come back a couple minutes later. Hopefully it moves back. I had no opinion on the under for that game. Reason why I bet it, I knew I was going to be there live, and I could cash out of the bet if a goal was scored. It happened once earlier in the series. So I said, wow, if a goal scored in the first 5 minutes, I had my thing open the whole time where I just hit cash out, cash out, cash out. And maybe I take a small loss because of the cash out juice. But now the live line's going to be over 6.5 instead of 5.5. And then what happened? No one scored. So I just rode that bet into the sunset. And the first period was 0-0. And then it happened like the third game, we crushed them. I met DJ Cal in the fourth game. We were up like 3-0. And then when they scored Edmonton the 2 goals in the second period, by the time they scored a second goal, I cashed out both bets for like 10 or 20K each for a small profit, because it was cashed out at the live line before that 5th goal. So I wound up getting out of the bet that was a loser. Yeah. So the point is that, like, for everyone else, they're small bettors. When you're at a game live, you should always be looking to do a glitch with a live bet and cashing out, whether it's a base hit, you got to have it already loaded. But you might get flagged, but that one's risk-free gambling if you could get it.
Also the early cash out is kind of, I know you said you're against it, but you said obviously you do it sometimes. But with baseball, let's say you have like yesterday, it's Braves versus Marlins. Marlins up 1-0. They load the bases, and Hawk was still Marlins load the bases, no outs.
I sent that play,
They still had an early cash out, so I know a lot of people took it as a little bit of a mistake on Hard Rock. They ended up getting 5 runs that inning, so 6-0 game's over, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think with baseball, there's definitely early cash outs if you want to just get your money back in like first 3 or 4 innings, right? Where you can kind of sometimes take advantage. Hard Rock, we all know, is very quick to update the scoring. It's an amazing site when it comes to a lot of things. Every site has its downfalls, and everyone's hard on Hard Rocks. They have no competition, blah, blah, blah. But that site is literally updated. Like I've been at games where, Anthony Black gets an assist, and it's like updating it as I'm watching the assist. We all joke that Hard Rock sometimes has updated stats while I'm at the game before it actually happens. Obviously, we're joking, but they are 30 seconds ahead of ESPN Gamecast.
Oh, easy. Remember, they're taking millions and millions. Their cashiers, Joe and William, and I forget their names, they're all amazing. They get my bets in fast because the lines are moving. But I complained to Mitch and all the guys there, Rhett, that how lucky, I know it's not them, how lucky the Hard Rock is against me. In the last 12 months, I have the bet slips. They got the Connor McDavid goal with 0.8 seconds left, which was an 80K swing there. I posted on my Instagram with the bet slips. And then they had 2 within a 3-day span at the end of last baseball season. I had 2 unders, 40K to win 40 and 40K to win 40, both down to the last strike, bottom of the 9th. Both the guy hit a home run for me to lose.
No fucking way.
Yeah, and one of them was the Tigers Guardians. You could look it up. I had under 8.5. It was 3-2 bottom of 9th. He homers on the last strike to make it 3-3, so I could still win. And at the top of the 10th, they scored 3 runs. I lose. Yeah.
Yeah. Now with the guy starting at second base, extra innings.
Yeah, it gets wild. Yeah.
I think a team yesterday or 2 days I think the Mets put up 10 runs in extra innings, like in 1 inning
against the Nationals yesterday. I think 12 or 11. Yeah.
Okay, really quick, because I'm a baseball guy. I am so excited about the ABS replays in the playoffs, right?
Oh,
it's going to be
of course.
insane. I mean, think about the dimension. Think about the dynamic of. We talked about this like a month or 2 ago, but let's just say it's the first inning and Garrett Cole or Schlittler's going for the Yankees, and he wants to challenge a strike, but they don't challenge it. And let's say they give up no runs that inning, but since he didn't challenge it, he throws 20 extra pitches.
Yeah.
Doesn't even give up a run, but instead of it being an 8 or 9 pitch first inning, 28 pitches. And it's all because he didn't challenge it. And also, I never thought about this, but I always thought it was going to be the hitters and the pitchers challenging the most, but it's the catchers that are challenging it.
Because
like Salvador Perez, he's never wrong. It's crazy to watch.
But they have the view, the experience. I will say it's funny that you mentioned the pitch count, because in the postseason, it really is going to be viable because pitchers attack hitters way differently, right? They have way more analytics. It's best of 3 or 4, best of 3 or 5 or 7 series. Number 2 is, and this is what I've been doing a lot with my props with the analytics. Some guys I send they're on their walk, some guys hits, because it's anti-correlated. The guys who are getting most strikeouts generally will walk people more because they don't want to give up the hit and vice versa. So when you mention that with Garrett Cole, like Garrett Cole's the perfect guy, and I have the same mindset too. Garrett Cole's logic is, I want you to earn it. You got to earn it with a hit. So Garrett Cole, he will walk you because his logic, which is right, is like, you're not going to hit me. So Garrett Cole, he could have an extra 20 pitches in that type of instance because he'll walk 2 people and he'll get deep into the counts, because the power pitchers could get out of the jams way easier, because when you get the strikeout, you're not putting the ball in play.
No contact.
They're tough to bunt again. So I think you're 100% right. And that's why you're seeing now, with some of these bullpens, the games are getting wacky versus in the playoffs. They've got the bullpen, scripted, how many pitches the guys, they know before the game how many pitches the guy's going to go and who they're going to bring in and when, where, why. And then when the game gets out of control, 7-0, then they kind of go a different route.
Also, I never thought about it. Like, I thought, a ball's a ball, a strike. I played baseball my whole life. But when they challenge it, if a millimeter of that ball nips the strike zone, I don't know. It just, before the season, okay, baseball over the last 5 years, all positive changes, right? The pitch clock, the ABS challenge now. Baseball is trending in the right direction when it comes to. I hate the extra innings putting the batter on.
No, I was just gonna say, you and I agree on ABS, yes, pitch clock, yes, and the extra innings is ruining the game. It's ruining the game. Because to
now,
be fair,
but in the postseason, it's not like that, right?
Agreed, but let me just say this: in the extra innings, I understand it because you want to fast the game, whatever. But if we're being honest, there is the main reason that people are watching Major League Baseball. If they're at the game, it's social event to drink and to gamble. And the main reason, I would say over half of the viewers on TV are watching because they're gamblers. So you have, if that's what your revenue is, it's like with the WNBA, and I'm advocating for all the girls. But at the end of the day, like, the pay is what the revenue is, and the NBA subsidizes them. So I'm just saying is like the WNBA should cater more towards the gamblers and the people watching because you want to grow the brand, right? So I always try to, like with Amanda, I promote all the girls. Amanda's my number one girl, but Amanda, listen, there's 128 girls in the French Open. I got news for everybody. Only one of the 128 is going to win it all, right? So when you mention with the baseball, like you have to cater it to your gamblers. And the reason why you could see that they are is in NBA this year, I don't remember it last year, there was a lot of 11 p.m. start games, NHL 11 p.m. start games.
They just started doing that because of that.
By the way, and they'll tell you, oh, it's for the advertising, I'm sure, and the TV, but it also, they know they know that the earlier games, they're not liquid, all their funds are tied, and they're liquid by the time 11 o'clock rolls around. And if they can't get the betting, they're not watching. And that's just the truth that I'm going to discuss on my Unfiltered podcast that ESPN won't mention. But it's huge, and I think that just like in hockey, it's 3-on-3 in regular season playoffs. I'm okay with that. But it changes the game. Like, I haven't done the research. My hypothesis is a 3-on-3 hockey overtime favors the offensive teams because the possession matters so much more. So give me the Crosbys and Ovechkins and McDavids who just possess the puck so well and pass beautifully. I don't want the defensive teams like the Vegas Knights. They're not going to do good against those teams because when they get it, they're applying the pressure and you don't have the skill set shooters. So just how it is. But I will say that I'm very excited for my girl Amanda to play French Open. I think she's pretty healthy. I don't have the news either way. And I think she's going to surprise people in the clay. That doesn't mean she's not going to lose first round. She could get a tough matchup. It's tough to win.
Yeah, I'll be watching her just because of you, man. You're promoting it.
Yeah, it's going to be
and tennis, just like golf, there's nowhere to hide, right? There's nowhere to hide. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's one-on-one.
And there's people who always, and I say this, like, I stand up for the male athletes like the Westbrook. He's been hit with a ton of hatred and racism. And my logic is, if you're racist, I think it's despicable. You shouldn't be watching him play. It's an honor to watch the great athletes play, regardless of race or age, right? Watching LeBron now, I'm not a LeBron fan. It's an honor to watch him for 23 years. So when you're watching the female athletes, Caitlin Clark, and I'll tell you this, Caitlin Clark would smoke all these men who, I played for my high school. Proud day for you and your family. Caitlin Clark would smoke you, put you on skates. The only guys who would beat Caitlin Clark is just the guys who are just going to body her, who are like, super strong in the gym that could post her. But if you put in real rules like they do in college, one-on-ones, like four dribbles, she's going to smoke you. You're not going to get off a good shot, and she will. So I don't want to hear that BS. And I will stand up for the girls. So my point is, when people, they always run when Amanda loses. Oh, Amanda lost. Like, I care. Amanda's made me a ton of money. And I know she's going to lose. Like she's not going to win every match. And only one girl wins these tournaments. One guy. It's probably going to be Sinner. It's probably going to be Sabalenka. But I tell him, I said, listen, if you're going to talk like that, you tell me before the tournament. You tell me who you think's going to win. You post on social media, so you're on record. And then 2, Amanda is 75-1 right now to win the French Open at Hard Rock Bet.
No
it's the best
shit.
in the world. I bet her my max bet was like $200, so I win 15 or whatever. I think it's a great bet, but do I think she'll win? I think it's super tough. I think she has a shot. I think she's just surprise people. But I tell everybody, don't tell me after someone who's 2% to win loses. Tell me beforehand. And if you're confident right now, Amanda will not win, you DM me and we'll escrow the money. You laid a 75-1 and we'll watch your asshole puckered up the whole French Open. And they won't put up the money. It's the truth. Yeah. And by the way, I know UFC fighters. When I was telling about Amanda before COVID, when Amanda first came up, there was UFC champions and other guys in ATP telling me that they could beat Amanda they beat her a couple games. And I'm not going to call names out because, they want to believe what they want to believe. I will put $100,000 tomorrow on those same UFC champions that they will not beat her in a game. If they win a game against her in 2 sets, they win my $100,000. And people will go, how are you get Amanda to show up? I'll tell you how I get her to show up. She gets half the money for her and her charity if she shows up, or any female athlete.
Yeah, she'd be there tomorrow. I guarantee that because people, they'd be great. Yeah, I think you're onto something there. But a lot of websites have done all that, have done crazy shots, crazy that, but high stakes like that could bring in. Oh, one last thing. You mentioned the dribbles. there was this famous video went viral a couple days ago where the guy gets crossed over, right? And like the guy falls, but you could tell they were all betting. It was just street ball, right? And there's money everywhere. And the guy gets crossed over. And as he's falling, because he got his ankles broken, he goes, 5 dribbles, 5 dribbles.
That's
5
amazing.
Dribbles. So it was so funny because as he's falling, the guy must have lost track of his dribbles, and he's like 5 dribbles. So the guy dunked it, and they're like, no basket.
You know what's funny? It's funny how you forget memories. I got to say this one's too good.
All right, last story. Let's hear it.
Yeah, I haven't played basketball since COVID just because now I play golf and tennis. I'm busy, but I was playing a lot, and I was, decent, being able to score lefty in the post.
No, I heard you're a ball player.
I used to go to Lifetime Fitness, which has a very competitive league now. It's crazy. So they were redoing the court, so we went to Patrick Park down the street from where I live to play outside. And we were playing 4-on-4, and this kid was talking shit. And I said, okay, so why don't you guard me then? And the kid goes, oh, I can't guard you. You're in the post. I'm a small guy. I'm like, okay, how are you running your mouth? So I guarded him for a play. And by the way, I'm not a good defender at all. I swatted his shit. And I remember that the entire court went nuts. And they're like, hey, let's talk about this for a second. Because, you called me out. Then you didn't want to guard me. Yeah. Then I guarded you, which, I'm slow. I'm not a good perimeter defender. I'm not even a good defender at all. And I threw your shit like a Wembanyama. But obviously, this guy's just not a good player. But, hopefully.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've said this, and I'll stick with this. Baseball, basketball, and football, those 3 sports. I could watch you play. For example, baseball, I could play catch with you for 10 seconds and let you know if you were a high school player, like the highest you ever were, high school, D1, D2, or pro. With those 3 sports, I could watch you throw 1 baseball and catch 1 baseball. I could watch you shoot 1 basketball,
right,
and 2 dribbles. And I could watch you throw a football and catch a football, and I could tell you exactly the highest level you made in sports. I was the captain of the Boathouse softball team. Jeff and I were, and people would be like, "Oh,
I remember all the stories." And you look at someone like Ricky, who's obviously very athletic, and you could just tell he's very athletic. I have a friend, DJ Swacheno. This guy's a freak athlete. Went to University of Miami, back-to-back state championships at Flanagan. Mega athlete. I've never thought I was a super athlete. These guys are super athletes. They never brag about it. And my closing remark is, I'm sure you'll agree, I've heard a million guys, if they didn't twist their ankle, they would have been pro. They would have been better than LeBron. And I've never heard that once from any of the female athletes. Not one has told me, oh, I would have been on Team USA. Not one. So clearly the guys are way more delusional. So I just want to keep that into perspective because, a lot of the guys obviously are monster athletes, but it's like no one cares how good you were when you were 10 years old or you played.
I take a lot of pride, and I was a pretty good ball player growing up. And I'm like, if I would have stuck with it, I could have been a very good D2, D3 player, baseball. Right. I'm proud of it. That's it. But I used to love when people are like, I run a 4.40. I'm like, if you break 5 flat, I'll give you $100.
Yeah.
I've always won that bet. Yep. Yeah. Always won that bet. And Jeff and I used to, guys would come out. Oh, I played baseball, play softball. Like I played first base. I batted 4th D1. I'm like, D1? Like, okay, great. I'm watching you throw a softball. I'm like, you didn't make your high school team.
I'll just throw this out there. But before we go, just because I know the weekends I get super busy and I have a lot on my plate this week, I might be doing a golf match with Nelk. Salim hit me up earlier today. But I will say is we should try to do one before my grand launch of the podcast. Why don't we try and do one like live after a game? At like 11 at night when everyone's sizzling. I think that would do well too because I know a lot of my followers, they're up late. I do the accounting late.
To be honest with you, me and you were texting last night. You and I were so jacked up after that game.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
We could have just stayed up all night. So maybe we talk about that over the next couple of days, and we just literally 10 minutes after that basketball game ends, whatever game it is, we just jump on the air and start talking. Yeah.
Or even the hockey, because listen, like what people don't realize, the reason why the hockey is so exciting is the one goal is everything, especially with the sudden death, high propensity to go to overtime. Obviously, with the Panthers not being in, it feels like it's flying by, and it just shows you how spoiled we were that the Panthers 3 years in a row back to back. So I got to give them their credit. They made me a lot of money and very proud. To bring back to back Stanley Cups is crazy.
No, it's amazing. It's amazing. Well, hey, we had a lot of fun. We'll keep in touch. Hey guys, thanks for listening. Zach, you brought some people to the channel. We appreciate that. And hey, that's a great name, by the way, WWZ. I mean, that's
everyone knows it.
I'm shocked it wasn't taken. I know there's I think a movie out, but like So WWZ Nation, I hope you got your hands on some sort of copyright. I don't know if you did or not, but
Yeah, we're in the process of doing all that now, and I'm gonna be launching my own website with T-shirts and stuff. So it's gonna be a lot to go on. All very exciting.
All right, man. Well, hey, it was great having you guys on and having you on, Zach, and we'll talk soon, buddy.
All right, bye, TJ.
All right, later.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah.